Hello, I love how I just blip in there. That's so funny. Whenever I switch over frames, it's just like, poof, then I'm on screen. Well, well, well. As the gamers say, what's up, everybody, man? Back, and welcome to a brand new live stream. I cannot believe that we are... I can't believe that we are doing a Shin Godzilla live stream in the year 2025, and that it's not a retrospective, that this is news. The news is here. Shin Godzilla's back and alive. It's it's a wonderful day. I can't believe that we live in a world where we are gonna get Godzilla Kong Supernova, Shin Godzilla 2, and Godzilla Minus 2 within a very short time span of each other. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well. We've got Orca Boss. What's up? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. Gavin, how you doing? Alpha Dragon Wolf Warrior, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I'm going to give shout outs really fast before I start reading comments. Kaiju Nut, what's up? Insanity, how's it going? Spencer, how's it going? Studios, how's it going? Orca Boss, what's up? Childish, welcome to the stream. Godzilla 93, 9 years later indeed, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just some random channel, dude. You're so you're so right. Not only that, let's recap, shall we? Can we do a little recap? Let me Google this. I'm gonna find out. You want to know what we got before GTA 6? So GTA 5 came out in GTA 5 came out in 2013. We got Godzilla 2014. Godzilla 2014, Shin Godzilla, Godzilla Monster Planet, Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, Godzilla the Eater of Stars or Planet Eater, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla Kong, The New Empire, Godzilla Minus One, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, Godzilla Singular Point, Gojira, Chibi Godzilla. Am I missing any? The Godzilla film short, the Godzilla Day short films? I can't believe it, dude. And now we're getting freaking minus 1, 2, or minus 2, or Godzilla 0, and Shin Godzilla 2. Hey, you know what would be a fantastic title for Shin Godzilla 2? Shin Godzilla Resurgence. How's that? Did I cook, chat? Too good, man. Is it too much Godzilla, Rick? That is an excellent question, and we will talk a little bit about that in this stream. So, okay, I have an idea here. I have an idea for what I'm going to do this stream. So basically, I want to take a look at the death and then rebirth of Shin Godzilla 2. I want to chronicle it a little bit. Actually, I'll even add in here, because there's another thing I could discuss that I discussed in my live stream that I just did, or sorry, my video, my big breakdown video. Please go check that video out if you haven't, where I get into all of the news, where I discuss all of this going on. Go check out that video if you haven't seen it already, where we get into the Bloomberg report. Lots of stuff in that video that we cover that I'm probably not going to cover here, or at least that I'm not going to cover with as much depth as I covered in that video. So go check that video out. Also, make sure to go like that video. If you've already watched the video, please go over to that video and like that video, because you have no idea how tremendously that helps the algorithm. That like boosts the videos like crazy. It really does. It does so much when you go like those videos to get those videos pushed out there. All right, I just added another source that I want to talk about. Okay, so I want to go through a couple sources here. I want to chronicle the death and then rebirth of Shin Godzilla, and then once I'm done, I'm going to open it up to you guys, the chat, and we'll go through a bit of a Godzilla Q&A here. But for the meantime, I think I have the perfect but I'll cover the super chats. I'll say, if you guys send in super chats, I'll cover those. Thank you so much, Alden Tolbert. I really appreciate that, man. Dude, thank you so much. He says, imagine if we got Shin Mothra or Shin Destroya. Great questions, or I don't know if I'd say they're questions as much as great suggestions. I'm going to have a video going out within the next couple days about some enemies that I believe Godzilla should or could fight in the Shin Godzilla sequel, and those are both on the list. Insanity Pepper saying, Gojira-san. Okay, chat. This is my idea. This is the ultimate Shin Godzilla 2 design. Shin Godzilla's design's so iconic. It's the thing of legend. It's so different than the normal Godzilla. I don't want to change it that much, but I do want to make some meaningful changes. And I actually believe somebody already did. Someone gave us the perfected version of Shin Godzilla's design, and it really wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple of years ago. I believe that this should be what we get in the new Shin Godzilla movie. Just straight up this, and I actually think he should only have the range of motion that he has on this as well. I think it'd be a really good way to nerf Shin Godzilla. He's a little overpowered. I think this is our way forward for the new Shin Godzilla universe. If they don't go with this, honestly, I'm probably not going to go see the movie, and I'm going to start to burn theaters down because I wouldn't want to live in a world where this isn't rampaging across the screen. I could maybe make the teeth a little more human would be cool. If they looked a little more human, that'd be pretty cool, but this is the new Shin Godzilla 2 design right here. That's the new Shin Godzilla 2 design. Playmates was ahead of the curve. They were ahead of their times. You don't understand. The new Shin Godzilla design, it makes him an equal balance of pure fury while also still retaining enough of those Godzilla elements that he's recognizable. I also really like the unevenness of it, like how we've got a burning leg on one side and then just kind of a smothered leg on the other. I think that's great stuff. I really don't know why they wouldn't adapt this for the new movie. Unless they're just absolute, the gamer posture. Unless they're absolutely like cowards. Like if everybody involved in this movie's a coward who doesn't deserve to be making films in the first place, then I guess you can give Godzilla a different design. But I really think that's the way forward. What's up, Saturn Dusk? It is a special occasion. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. And oh my gosh, Gavin CMB, thank you so much for joining D-Force. Welcome to D-Force, man. Thank you so much. All the D-Force guys, you guys should have access to the custom D-Force emojis. If you don't, let me know and I'll have to look into this. I don't know if I've ever seen chat using them, but you guys should have access to the custom emojis. I'm pretty sure you guys do anyways. Yeah, thank you, Gavin. I appreciate that. Gavin, you joined D-Force and you made a great impression already. This is what Godzilla's new design needs to be, and if they don't do it, I don't want a Shin Godzilla 2. There's no point in making the movie if this isn't it. I just don't care, all right? This is all I want. Gavin, you got the emojis too. I'm glad that you guys have access to them. I don't know if I've seen many people. I think I've seen Saturn Dusk use them in a Fortnite live stream, but I don't see them often. Memberships LA, I believe that there's 2 tiers. One of them should be like $1 or something like that, or $2. I honestly don't know. I had to go with the defaults that YouTube set up when I did that. And then I can add higher tiers, like I can add more expensive ones, but I didn't see a value in that because ultimately, like, it's not it's ultimately, for those of you who don't know, like, supporting the Patreon is a more direct way to support the channel than supporting the YouTube memberships, but the YouTube memberships and the Patreon are the 2 most direct ways to support the channel, and I didn't want to replace the purpose of the Patreon, you know. Okay, thank you, Saturn Dusk. It's $2 and $5. I actually think that there's this weird discrepancy where on mobile it's like 99 cents and then $4.99, and then on desktop it's $2 and $5. It's this weird thing that, like, depending on where you sign up, it's weird. I don't know. It is D-manning time, Shin Godzillers, it is D-manning time. Alrighty, gang, I want to run through the death and rebirth of Shin Godzilla 2. So I went back and watched my video. I made it in 2018, and I actually watched this morning. I had a long car drive this morning, so I haven't been able to do this live stream earlier. I found... Oh, shoot, I forgot to start my recording, too. Damn it. It's okay, I'll start it here in a second. I'll just drop a second intro. I went back, I rewatched every video I've made on Shin Godzilla 2, which actually is not as many Shin Godzilla 2 videos as I was expecting. I haven't actually made that many on this channel, but I went in, I found my Shin Godzilla 2 videos, and so now I'm all caught up on my own Shin Godzilla lore, and one of those videos really stuck out to me. It's the one where I was talking about the article that essentially killed Shin Godzilla 2, and so I want to talk about that article because I feel like it's very interesting in retrospect what came true, what didn't come true, and the development of what happened after that all came out. So I'm gonna actually start my freaking recording now, and then we'll jump into the topic of the stream. So get ready for another intro, gang. What's up, everybody? Man back. Welcome to a brand new live stream highlights or video. I don't know if I'll be posting this as a video. I might. I guess we'll see. But welcome again, everybody in the chat who's already here. Thanks for sticking with me and everybody who's just joining. Today, I'm going to be running you through the death and the rebirth of Shin Godzilla 2 from strictly Toho's perspective. Of course, from a creative perspective, we actually know a little bit. I believe most of this information comes from the art of Shin Godzilla, which I don't own. It was very expensive, so I missed it back in the day. But the art of Shin Godzilla was a comprehensive breakdown on the making of Shin Godzilla, and in that, I believe that's where we originally found out. Hideaki Anno actually pitched a sequel to Shin Godzilla all the way back in 2016, before Shin Godzilla even came out. He pitched a sequel to Shin Godzilla, and his sequel was essentially the antithesis to the movie we got. Shin Godzilla is a very political movie. It's a very human-forward movie. It's all about dialogue. It's all about the political satire. Godzilla is a very, very strictly serious character in that movie. He's a metaphor for the 3/11 triple disaster that struck Japan. And Hideaki Anno wisely knew that there would be enough people who wanted to see things go swing in the other direction. Enough people who wanted to see an exact opposite of that. A movie that was purely fun and crazy and over the top and silly and monsters fighting. And he pitched that to Toho, and they very quickly said no thank you on that idea. And that seemed to be the death of Shin Godzilla from a creative perspective, at least from his perspective. But that isn't actually where this story ends. Shin Godzilla 2, I personally believe, has been slowly cooking for a very long time, ever since that original pitch. Shin Godzilla was incredibly popular. The movie was a huge hit. It was widely critically praised. And then we had a weird situation. Where do we go from there? Hideaki Anno pitched his Shin Godzilla 2. Toho kind of said, no thank you, we don't want to go in that direction, maybe some other direction, but maybe not. And that kind of seemed like they put things on pause to figure out where to take the franchise from there. In the meantime, what we know is that an upcoming Godzilla movie was going to come out. It was Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it was slated for 2018 at the time. Godzilla vs. Kong was slated for 2020. That meant that Toho really only had a limited window to release films. They couldn't get another Godzilla movie out immediately after Shin Godzilla. They couldn't get one out in 2017, so they really only had 2018 to work with. Or they could go the animation route. They could just tide people over until Godzilla King of the Monsters releases, buying them time to figure out what to do next. In that time, they released Godzilla Monster Planet, Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, and Godzilla the Planet Eater. Those three anime movies were made very quickly on a very limited budget, and essentially, as we'll talk about here in a second, was just simply their way of holding fans of Godzilla over until the next live-action Godzilla film came out. Well, Godzilla King of the Monsters got delayed until 2019. The film didn't come out on time. Godzilla King of the Monsters comes out in 2019, is kind of receives mixed reception, where like fans loved the movie to bits, critics didn't know how to feel about it, and box office wise it performed how Legendary and Warner Bros. Kind of expected a solo Godzilla film to perform that wasn't the first Godzilla movie in 10 years, which is to say, not as much as they would have liked, but also not a bad scenario either. A scenario where maybe it's more financially responsible to pair Godzilla with Kong from now on. And so that's kind of what we've seen. Godzilla vs. Kong was supposed to come out in 2020. There was a Strange World event. I can't really remember what it was. It was something horrific that put the entire planet on pause for like a good almost 2 full years. And that actually did delay Godzilla vs. Kong until 2021. That pushed the MonsterVerse deadline until 2021. What we know now in retrospect is, in the meantime, in the background, there was a sneaky little project being developed, because Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi moved on. They started working on the Shin Japan Heroes universe, a sort of shared collaborative brand which entails Shin Godzilla, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and Evangelion. Well, Hideaki Anno was finishing off his Evangelion animation series. There's 4 of them, I believe. He was finishing off the final 2, or maybe just the final 1. He was finishing off those Evangelion movies. No, nothing happened in 2020. There was nothing to see there. he was working on those Evangelion movies, and then he was working on Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. That's what Shinji Higuchi and Hideaki Anno were working on in that time. Well, now they're booked and busy. They can't return to work on Shin Godzilla 2 even if Toho wants them to. And so maybe it's time to reach out to another director. A director who Toho had been in talks with since the mid to late 2000s about making a Godzilla film, one who they started to get serious about in the early 2010s before Shin Godzilla came out, and a director who they really wanted to work with who was like, guys, I know VFX better than anybody in the Japanese industry, and I know we're not here yet. I have a vision for a movie that will be great. We're not there. We're not at the point where I can release the movie that I want to release. Give me time to perfect my VFX for this upcoming film. And so they gave him time, and now it was time to reach back out to him. And so they did, and his name was Takashi Yamazaki. They slowly began development on Godzilla Minus One somewhere around 2019. In 2019-ish, they started to work on that movie. Obviously, the pandemic hit. It delayed Godzilla Minus One. Then Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. And now they're kind of in a shuffle to figure out where things are going to land, when they can film after COVID. And eventually, we wind up with Godzilla Minus One. I believe very strongly and firmly, in the background underneath all of this, they were secretly waiting for Shinji Higuchi and Hideaki Anno, in particular Hideaki Anno, to finish up the Shin Japan Heroes stuff and get back on board with Shin Godzilla 2. It was during this time that Godzilla Minus One released, and I believe somewhere in there, Anno or Higuchi agreed to come back, and Shin Godzilla 2 kind of got soft greenlit. And then Godzilla Minus One came out and wound up being a bigger hit than anybody could have imagined. Toho took a big risk on that movie, distributing it internationally themselves. They distributed that film. It's the first Godzilla film Toho has distributed internationally, and it worked out like crazy well. It was a big gamble, and it paid off insanely well. It was a major turning point in the Godzilla. This is going to be a huge turning point for the history of Godzilla from this point on. It worked really well. And fans were begging for a sequel, and mainstream audiences were begging for a sequel. Takashi Yamazaki couldn't have predicted how well that movie was going to do. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agreed to work on Grand Gear, his first US film produced with J.J. Abrams, which he's supposed to get out around 2027-ish, I believe. Takashi Yamazaki, if he knew how big of a hit Godzilla Minus One was going to be, if Toho knew how big of a hit it was going to be, I think they would have locked Yamazaki down for a sequel a lot sooner than they did. Well, now it's been announced Takashi Yamazaki will be coming back for a sequel to Godzilla Minus One. But what about that Shin Godzilla sequel? I very much believe that while the Godzilla Minus One sequel comes out, they're going to let Godzilla, that's going to come out, they're going to let Godzilla Kong Supernova come out, and then somewhere down the line, post 2027, 2028, somewhere in there, Shin Godzilla 2, bam, it's the movie that has been slowly trudging along this whole time, just waiting for a moment to release. But they have to satisfy the mainstream audience's love for Godzilla Minus One before they can get to this, and let's be honest, more relatively niche project that is now going to be over a decade old by the time they get around to the sequel. That's what's been going on creatively. That's what's been happening. But what about from a business standpoint? Is there any evidence to suggest all of this? A little bit. A little bit. Sorry gang, I have to drink some Coke because I'm so freaking tired. I'm really trying to be energetic because this is such a hype topic, but man, I'm so tired. Shin Godzilla 2 seemed to die creatively all the way back on May 12th, 2018. There was an article that was released that was the bane of my existence as me, the Shin Godzilla champion that I was. I went from being Shin Godzilla's #1 critic to Shin Godzilla's #1 fan overnight, and I was so championing a sequel to Shin Godzilla the whole time until that May 12th article came out, 2018, and it seemed to destroy my hope of a Shin Godzilla sequel. Although actually, I went back and watched my video. I actually was hanging on to hope back then. Like, not just copium, but like, I was really hoping that there was a way forward for Shin Godzilla, and my logic makes so much sense that I still agree with my logic all these years later. So, a major article was released called Toho's Fate Depends on Godzilla's Strategy Meeting, which extends beyond film. This was released by Nikike? I honestly don't know how to say it. But it was released by them. I've got it linked down below. If you want to go check it out, you can. It was the article that killed Shin Godzilla 2 and birthed the Worlds of Godzilla, the cinematic universe, which we all know and love. We have all seen the Godzilla cinematic universe. We all love the Godzilla movie. We love the Mothra solo movie. We're huge fans of the Rodan solo movie. It was about time he got another one. But man, what we never could have expected was that solo Gabra movie to do as well as it did. The movie was critically praised. The VFX were so groundbreaking, they actually had to make a new category for it called "You Actually Create a Gabra in the Real World, What Do We Do?" It was great. It was a huge success. The Worlds of Godzilla is a huge hit. This article was the bane of my existence because, first of all, I'm pretty sure to this day most people haven't read it. Secondly, unless you watch my video covering the topic way back in the day, I also don't know if many people understood that article properly, because the article never ever confirmed that Shin Godzilla 2 was dead in the water, and it certainly never confirmed that the Worlds of Godzilla cinematic universe... yeah, I can slipstream between parallel dimensions. It certainly never confirmed that the Worlds of Godzilla cinematic universe was going to be a replacement for Shin Godzilla. So let's get into what that article actually had to say. I'm not going to run through every detail in it. I still have a video on the channel. You can go find it, and I talk all about this stuff from 2018. I'm going to run through some of the more interesting headlines with retrospect now, and I'll cover where things happened. Like, what are they talking about? What did it become, you know? This was an interview done with Ota Keiji. Ota Keiji is Godzilla's chief officer over at Toho. Apparently, he's the fourth person in history to ever hold that position, and the very first ever was Tomoyuki Tanaka, the original creator and founder of Godzilla, who helmed Godzilla from 1954 all the way into the Heisei series. So, pretty big title, pretty impressive title. Keiji Ota did this interview, and in it, we find out quite a lot. If you're wondering what Ota's resume is, I find it to be very fascinating. Ota's resume as Chief Godzilla Officer was not quite what I expected. I always thought he was like the Kevin Feige of Godzilla, greenlighting what Godzilla movies come out, but if you look at his resume, he's missing a couple key details. Ota's credits include, but are not limited to, he has more credits than this, but these are the main ones we're talking about: the 3 Godzilla anime films, the anime trilogy from Netflix, Godzilla Singular Point, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Gojira, Godzilla Intercept, the Awaji Island Godzilla event, all the Godzilla Fest short films, and Chibi Godzilla. You know what's missing on that? Shin Godzilla. You know what else is missing on that? Godzilla -1. Seems that he does not greenlight what Godzilla movies come out. He is involved with everything else. He's involved with helping to oversee the transition of Godzilla to the United States. I believe he actually still has some sort of producerial credits on the Monsterverse to this day, but he's involved in helping the spread of Godzilla globally, the brand. He's really involved with spreading the brand of Godzilla, licensing the character out. That's really important, because this article tricked people back in the day into thinking that Godzilla's head, the head of Godzilla, completely denied Shin Godzilla 2 on the grounds that he wanted to do another project instead. In this article, Ota starts out by crediting the Monsterverse as being the reason Godzilla became popular again after his hiatus following Godzilla Final Wars in 2004. But he celebrated that in Japan, Shin Godzilla was more successful at the box office than Godzilla 2014 was, and he saw that there is a big home and demand for the Japanese Godzilla to still have a place. That they're not going to replace the Japanese Godzilla with the Monsterverse. There's a place for both of them. He decided to release the anime films to fill in the gaps between Shin Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, simply to keep Godzilla as a name brand in Japan. That way they don't wind up like letting Godzilla slip into obscurity and disappear the way that he did from Final Wars until Godzilla 2014, as that has done, to this day, some pretty irreparable damage to Godzilla's fandom. Like, we are fans for sure on this channel, but Andres Perez Kaiju Noir moved to Japan in like 2016, somewhere around there. Andres didn't meet people who were aware of or cared about Godzilla until well after Shin Godzilla came out, leading into like modern day. We hear people in Japan are well more interested in Godzilla, especially after the release of -1. But like, aside from cultural hubs like Tokyo and Osaka, Andres didn't meet any fans of Godzilla. He talked about it a lot. Like, people were aware of him or interested in him. Like, oh, that sounds interesting. But they weren't like big fans. It was just not a thing he encountered a lot. So that's what Toho is very much seeking to avoid happening again by letting Godzilla disappear. They do not want Godzilla to disappear. He then states that there are plans for new live-action Godzilla films alongside new animated projects. What we've seen since then is Godzilla -1. We've also seen Godzilla Singular Point from the Japanese side of things. We're now seeing a Godzilla sequel, a Godzilla -1 sequel coming out. He says, following the release of Godzilla vs. Kong, they would like to see around one Godzilla film released per year without interruption. This is something that I've seen a very interesting takes popping up on Twitter of like, the state we're getting in, we're going to be getting about one Godzilla movie per year. First of all, we got Godzilla -1 at the same exact time as Monarch Legacy of Monsters in 2023, the live-action Godzilla TV show, the first ever, and it didn't stop there. Because Monarch Legacy of Monsters continued into 2024 when we got Godzilla Kong the New Empire. 2025, to be honest, bit of a dud. We missed the mark. I think that this, honestly, is the point where an animated movie should have come out. Maybe not an animated movie, but like maybe a new season of Singular Point. Rest in peace, Singular Point. This is the point where something should have come out. You know, some other Godzilla animated project to just tide us over for a minute. Give us something to hang on to for a second. I think that's what Toho would want. But we do have Monarch Legacy of Monsters coming up. Although reports are that that's either going to come out at the very end of this year or early next year. But I do think Monarch Legacy of Monsters will come out this year or start this year. And I think that will be their way of filling in this gap. So then from there we get the new Godzilla -1 sequel. Or yeah, no. Yeah, no, I think that'll be next year. I'm pretty sure. I feel like, as I've talked about in my videos, there's no real way it couldn't be. Because if we miss next year's mark, we're going to have to wait until 2028 to release the -1 sequel. Simply because they can't release the movie at the same time as Godzilla Kong Supernova. They can't release competing studios can't release Godzilla movies in the same year. So it's going to have to go Godzilla -2 or whatever they call it, Godzilla Kong Supernova, and then they're gonna do I would guess that's where the Shin Godzilla would come out. Now, I've seen some people being like, oh, we're gonna burn Godzilla out. I think that it's okay simply because there's so much variety. Back in the Showa series, the thing that really killed Godzilla back in the Showa series, and everybody admits this, is that they geared Godzilla towards one audience and one audience only, and that's the smallest audience you could, which is kids. You know, the problem with kids is they grow up really quick, and you're stuck with the smallest generation of kids. If you're like, we want to aim this movie towards the 8-year-old demographic, well, you know who's not going to be 8 next year? The kid you just aimed the movie towards. If you aim the movie towards a broader audience, you will consistently hit a broader audience, and as people grow up, they can continue to grow up with Godzilla while getting younger people into Godzilla. So that's the big issue that killed the Showa series. They geared it straight towards the kids, and they couldn't continue with it. Although that is ironically also the thing that kept Godzilla afloat at the time and saved Toho's ass, as Toho was in a real pinch. Like financially, Toho was on the verge of bankruptcy because all movie studios were doing really poorly at that point in Japanese history. In the 1970s, it was a really tough time for the Japanese film industry. So that's the thing that kind of both in some ways saved Godzilla, but also killed the Showa series' longevity. The Heisei era, I think, burned out because of the sameness of it. They weren't experimental with the tone. They weren't experimental with the style. They certainly weren't experimental with the monster fights. That was a very play-it-by-the-numbers safe series. It's one of the main reasons why people are kind of becoming more critical of that series nowadays. By the time the Millennium series came out, I think they had just simply run out of good faith for Godzilla. They had just had Godzilla too much of the time for what eventually became from 1989 until 2004. That's a huge run of Godzilla. I think that's one of the reasons why people started to get burned out, because those Millennium era movies, they were different than the Heisei movies, but they weren't all that different from each other. The only real mix-up was GMK. GMK feels like a breath of fresh air mid-Millennium series, while as the rest of the era feels very much in its own little, like, it feels like its own little bubble, right? With the modern era, Godzilla 2014 is nothing like Shin Godzilla, is nothing like -1, is certainly nothing like the New Empire. I think we're in a very nice period where Godzilla can do so much, explore so many different potentials, and the fact that there's going to be a place for a Godzilla -1 sequel, which will probably be a big budget headlining movie, and a Shin Godzilla 2, which I would guess is going to be a smaller budget, smaller project for a nicher audience. I think they're going to know that going into it. They better. If they don't, they're going to have a bit of an awakening. I think I think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I don't know. I really do think Godzilla -1, the sequel, is going to be the big headliner. And then the Shin Godzilla movie will be kind of a more niche project to tide us over until their next main project. You know what I mean? Like, I could see us alternating in the future. You get a -1 Godzilla movie, like a big headliner Godzilla movie. Then you'll get a MonsterVerse film. Following that, you'll get kind of a niche Godzilla project, and kind of rinse and repeat. It also is good because the creative team who would be working on a Shin Godzilla 2 would have nothing to do with Godzilla -2. Wouldn't be the same team. It wouldn't even really be the same studio. Yes, Toho's producing both, but like, if you take a look, Shirogami didn't produce the VFX on Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla's VFX were produced by a completely different company, you know? So you're not really burning out the same crews by making them do a movie every single year. And you have those MonsterVerse films to give people a breath of fresh air in the middle. And if you really, really want to be smart about it, which I really would like Toho to do this, you would release an animated movie every now and then. You would release a TV show like Monarch Legacy of Monsters or Godzilla Singular Point. And in that year, that's the project for the year. Maybe you could even double it up. So like, well, we got Monarch Legacy of Monsters airing every other year. Well, Monarch Legacy of Monsters airs every other year. Technically every year, if we count the fact that it starts at the end of the year and then runs into the start of the next year. If we count the fact that it's doing that, Monarch Legacy of Monsters sort of runs every single year. And then we'll take a turn with an animated project. Like this year's Godzilla Singular Point Season 1. The year after that, nothing. The year after that, Godzilla Singular Point Season 2. Yeah, this is actually live. Sorry, I'm just yapping. I'm getting through my thoughts here. This is live. Sorry. I just am a yap man. You tuned into Yap Man 1954. What do you mean? So, I think that would be the smartest strategy. To give people space between Godzilla films while allowing Godzilla to have different genres and styles. Like, I would love if one day they were like, this year we're doing a Suitmation Godzilla movie. It's going to be a full Godzilla movie, Suitmation. It's going to be a much smaller project. It's going to be a niche project, but we're doing a Suitmation Godzilla movie and it's got a low budget. That's great stuff, man. That's good stuff. I think that's what they should do. So that's my long-winded thoughts on what's maybe going to happen with this per year Godzilla films without interruption. Then the article mentions that Toho is very, very conscious of the idea that shared universes are very popular, which actually, ironically, back in 2018, they were all the rage. Avengers Infinity War was just coming out. Avengers Endgame, or actually, Infinity War had just come out, I think. Avengers Endgame was right around the corner. The two biggest freaking shared universe movies of all time. Shared universes were at the peak. Now, not so much, not as much anymore, and it is interesting to note that. Like, the MonsterVerse is one of the few hanging on and doing well. The MCU's a little bit slipping at the box office. DCU just got started and is doing pretty well right off the bat, but we'll see what happens from here. But they're very conscious of the idea of shared universes and shared universe characters. Like Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah are the ones named in the article as having the potential to star in a shared universe where they can cross over with each other, or, and this is important, be treated as the main character of solo films if they're popular enough. So let's say we get next movie, Shin Godzilla 2. Let's say Shin Godzilla 2 is Godzilla versus Mothra. If Mothra, Shin Mothra, whatever you want to call it, winds up being popular enough, well then maybe Shin Mothra could get her own solo spin-off film, you know? They could do that. And that could be another way to give people a break from Godzilla. Like this year, we're not releasing a Godzilla movie, we're releasing the King Ghidorah movie. Enjoy the King Ghidorah solo film, and that's the Godzilla movie of the year. I could see them going that route as well. But that's if they're popular enough. This was the quote that supposedly killed Shin Godzilla 2 dead in its tracks, and again, this is from a man who does not greenlight movies, it seems, but only oversees the Godzilla brand. Keiji Ota's quote is, rather than just thinking haphazardly like, Shin Godzilla 2 should be made because Shin Godzilla was a hit, I want to create a Godzilla world with a worldview that can be used for the long term. This quote, people took it as, Shin Godzilla 2 is dead in the water, the world of Godzilla has been born. The world of Godzilla is going to be a new shared cinematic universe where monsters are going to get their solo outings, and of course, that hasn't happened. I don't think that Godzilla -1 is the start of that. I don't think Godzilla -1 is the movie where that begins, and from here on, we're going to get that, you know? Like, from here on, we're going to get a solo Anguirus movie and a solo Baragon movie, and then eventually they'll cross over in a remake of the original idea for GMK. I don't think that's what Godzilla Minus One is. I think Godzilla Minus One is a very special project made by Takashi Yamazaki. I think he'll probably do this next sequel, and if that does well, a trilogy, and then cap it there, and he'll move on to other projects. That's my guess. Of course, I could be corrected. I could stand to be corrected, but that's my thought. And the Shin Godzilla universe is the universe that back in the day I thought that seems like this is the chance to jump off from. He continues and says, for example, in a year which Mothra is featured, merchandising will be centered around Mothra. Merchandising will not only include figures, but also a variety of items, from everyday items to apparel and games. So I want to make full use of Godzilla. It's kind of going along with what I'm saying. Like, you're going to have a Godzilla movie this year, and the next year it'll be all about Mothra, and we don't have to worry about Godzilla. We're not going to burn audiences out on Godzilla because he's taking a break. In the Showa period, back when the Showa era was really killing it, there was a Godzilla movie every single year, and all these other kaiju films. Like, there was Mothra, and actually Mothra didn't come out at the same time as a Godzilla film, but there was like War of the Gargantuas and Frankenstein Conquers the World and Dogora and all these other movies, and it was just a very packed release schedule, you know. It was a epic time. It's the golden age of kaiju for all time, but I think that nowadays audiences could not keep up with that much Godzilla, and I think Toho's aware of that. I've always felt that this article doesn't deny Shin Godzilla 2 could happen, but instead says if a Shin Godzilla 2 is going to happen, it could be the birth of a new cinematic universe. I think what he's really saying, let's read it again, rather than just haphazardly thinking like Shin Godzilla 2 should be made because Shin Godzilla was a hit. I want to create a Godzilla world with a worldview that can be used for the long term. I think he's saying this isn't supposed to just be like Shin Godzilla 2 and then it's done because you guys wanted Shin Godzilla 2. The way I've always interpreted that quote since 2018 was the future for Godzilla isn't direct sequels to Shin Godzilla only just because you guys liked that one. It's to find a way to build that off, spin it off into a healthy, successful cinematic universe. That's always how I've interpreted that. And I feel like that's probably the most likely scenario. I don't think Shin Godzilla 2 nowadays, we're 10 years removed. 10 years later, I don't think Shin Godzilla 2 is the way forward for that universe. I do personally believe that we have to reboot. I personally believe we have to reboot the series after a Shin Godzilla 2 if we're going to do a new cinematic universe. But you know what? Maybe I'm just wrong. Because there was a hiatus. Godzilla 1984 came out, and then Godzilla vs. Biollante came out in 1989. Now, it wasn't a 10-year gap, but it was a big enough gap to where Godzilla just disappeared for a few years and then came back all of the sudden. And now Godzilla's not just reappearing all of the sudden. There's been other Godzilla movies in the meantime, like Minus One and the MonsterVerse films. So I could see, like, if Shin Godzilla 2 winds up being super successful, they go, screw it, this is the birth of our new Godzilla cinematic universe. And from there, we get a Mothra movie and a Ghidorah movie. It's really, they only mentioned Mothra and Ghidorah, which in my opinion, Mothra and Ghidorah might be the only two that could support a solo movie in the modern age, but boy, would I love to see a Rodan movie. I think that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's where we could see things go. He also announced, and we've definitely seen this, that moving forward, starting in 2018, they were going to start to release figures, t-shirts, smartphone games like Godzilla Battle Line, although that wasn't the thing yet. And they were going to start to sell them worldwide because they finally overcame the US distribution rights where before 2018, it was actually the MonsterVerse had full rights to sell Godzilla stuff in the US for a brief period. They accidentally, it seems, at least the way it's worded here, it seems like they had very limited ability to sell Godzilla figures overseas themselves. They had to go through third-party distributors, and in light of that, it was all MonsterVerse. But since 2018, they said we're going to start to sell figures and t-shirts and smartphone games worldwide. It's going to become a big thing. And it did. We've got Godzilla Battle Line and Godzilla Voxel Wars. We've got so many t-shirts. I can't go into stores, like I can't go to the mall without bumping into Godzilla t-shirts that I'm desperate for, you know? Like they're all over the place. The figures are everywhere. It's a great, great time to see the expansion of the Godzilla brand. So that came true exactly like he said it would. This is great. This didn't happen, but boy, there's still hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed. He states, a future goal would be to create a Godzilla theme park in LA or to sell Godzilla heads like the Shinjuku head on the Godzilla Hotel, the Hotel Gracery Shinjuku, overseas. Could you imagine going to LA And downtown LA, I actually think this would fit better in New York City, but downtown New York City, just the giant Godzilla head there. It could even be the Monsterverse Godzilla head. You could adapt it to be the Monsterverse Godzilla head. Put the thing in San Francisco. Put a giant 2014 Godzilla head on a building in San Francisco. That'd be insane. America doesn't do cool stuff like that. We're just not that epic, but that'd be great. A Godzilla theme park in LA would be cool. And we're starting to see the seeds sown, because for the first time ever, Godzilla the Ride is coming to the United States. Godzilla the Ride Great Clash will be distributed overseas at some point in the future. So things are starting to come true. They then announced that with the success of Godzilla Festival Japan becoming such a huge event, they were going to try and focus on more fan events. We've actually seen that happening. You know, there's been like, Toho has been making it out to Comic-Con. Toho has been showing up to Comic-Con. They've been doing big presentations, or they're going to be doing one next week, which I cannot wait for. I think that's when we're going to have the lid blown open on what's going on with Shin Godzilla. If there's no announcements at Comic-Con with Shinji Higuchi at Comic-Con, I'm not saying that Shin Godzilla 2 is going to be like dead, but like, I think that it'll mean that they're really uncertain of if they're going to produce that movie. It's going to mean that they're really not confident in if they can make that film the way they want to. Because Bloomberg just didn't report that out of nowhere. You don't report something like that without having some source to back it up, you know? And we've actually seen the Godzilla festivals expand, because there's now the Godzilla Fest Osaka, and it's becoming a big deal over there. Ota then announced that Toho would start to relax some of the rules on using Godzilla in tie-in projects. That's obviously become a huge deal. Godzilla's appeared in tons of crossovers and collaborations, from the DC universe in the current Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong comics, to the Marvel comics, to Dave the Diver video game, to Roblox, to Minecraft. So many collaborations with Godzilla in it. And this includes releasing restrictions on strictly using Godzilla in projects like the Monsterverse moving forward, opening the door to more Toho kaiju being licensed. This obviously happened. Godzilla being in Godzilla vs. Kong. From there, we had Mothra show up in the New Empire. We've actually found out recently, or at this point, it really wasn't recently, it was back in, I believe, 2019, we found out Legendary can license any Toho kaiju they want. From that point on, Legendary could license any Toho kaiju they wanted, as long as they paid for it, and as long as Toho approved it, whatever their use of it was. So we actually have seen that one come true. They said they were also going to embrace the more humorous side of Godzilla, so that you can have a more diverse version of Godzilla, so that the focus is entirely on the devastating, tragic side of Godzilla, so that they could lean into the more fun, family-friendly side to get more people involved in the Godzilla franchise. And that definitely happened, of course, with the New Empire and beyond, with Chibi Godzilla and such. Finally, he announces that they would start to, and I think this was an interesting translation, dilute their 100% hold of the Godzilla brand to start to work with other companies closer on Godzilla crossovers to take Godzilla to new places. I've always thought that this seemed to indicate that they would help to start co-produce Monsterverse projects, and that's definitely what has happened. Toho had more creative control in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and I believe in the New Empire, than they did previously in the Monsterverse, so that actually has started to come true. I'd love to see a proper 50-50 co-produced Godzilla film like back in the day with Invasion of Astro Monster. That'd be fantastic. And then the goal was to make Godzilla projects that could appeal to 2 or 3 generations of people at a time, from picture books to anime. And that all has happened as well. Like, all of that has come true exactly how he said it would. So I think that that's all interesting enough. Now, let's continue. This journey doesn't stop there. The thing that I think is so interesting is that I'm the only one I feel like I've seen online talk about this. Why is that? Why haven't I seen anybody else report this? I reported on this all the way back in 2023, but in Godzilla Festival 2022, which I didn't report on at the time because I was so behind on news. In Godzilla Festival 2022, it was announced Godzilla -1 was going to be the next Godzilla movie. They didn't say the title. They just said the new Godzilla movie from Takashi Yamazaki will come out November 3rd, 2023. Of course, that was -1. They revealed the G. It was pretty cool. Well, there, it was stated that Godzilla -1, or Godzilla, the new Godzilla movie, will be the film that follows Shin Godzilla but is not connected to it, seeing as though Anno and Shinji Higuchi could not be involved because they were both busy with other projects, such as Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. Like, they were, that is such a strong implication that, like, hey guys, we know you wanted Shin Godzilla 2. We're sorry, they're busy. But as soon as they're not, you guys got it. Shin Godzilla 2. That's not what he said, obviously. But the implication is there. The reason that Shin Godzilla 2 wasn't going to happen was because Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi weren't able to return. They were working on other projects. So, sorry, They announced that director Takashi Yamazaki was going to be the director of the new movie. He was going to be working on the FX for the film. He loves Godzilla, worked on Godzilla the Ride, obviously, and he's worked on Godzilla with Always as well. He continues saying he's sorry because he knows everybody wanted a Shin Godzilla sequel. They in fact put the YouTube chat on screen and he starts to read comments and is like, hey guys, I know, I'm sorry. I know you guys wanted a Shin Godzilla sequel, but Shin Godzilla is very important to Mr. Anno and we won't continue without him. Mr. Yamazaki could have asked for a continuation of Shin Godzilla. The door was open to continue Shin Godzilla. They did not kill Shin Godzilla in 2018, but Yamazaki did not want to do so because he had an idea of his own that he was passionate about, and because he considers himself too different of a filmmaker from Shinji Higuchi and Hideaki Anno to be able to continue that series without them. He's too different of a filmmaker. It was then stated finally, Mr. Higuchi would not return yet because he's still deciding what to do after Shin Ultraman. That was all from Godzilla Festival 2022, and the next time we heard about Shin Godzilla from Toho, it is not from Toho directly this time. This is the first time where it is not from Toho. This is the current news where it's from Bloomberg. This came out just yesterday. Toho is looking to expand Godzilla into games, attractions, and more. That's all straight, like, stuff we've known since 2018, as I've been covering here. Toho's seeking to make themselves a global name on a global stage. They want to make themselves a name on a global stage. They want to become an internationally iconic studio. This is an effort led by Chief Executive Officer of Toho, Hiroyasu Matsuoka. He is the great-grandson of the company's founder. I covered this in yesterday's video. The international push is an effort to overcome Japan's aging and shrinking population while capitalizing on international interests in Japanese pop culture. Again, stuff we've covered not just in yesterday's video, but in lots of videos recently. Toho's acquisition of G-Kids, the anime distributor recently, is a big push to get more films out there globally on a wider scale. And first up is the re-release of Shin Godzilla in the United States. Why re-release Shin Godzilla in the US? Well, first of all, it's a good way to test how the US feels about the most recent Godzilla film that isn't Godzilla Minus One, to see, hey, are people going to be willing to go pay for another Toho Godzilla film, for the Japanese, authentic Japanese Godzilla outside of Minus One, or are they strictly interested in the Godzilla Minus One series? I think that's why they're doing the Shin Godzilla re-release in the US. Why not everywhere else internationally? Well, first of all, that costs a lot of money. That's a very hard thing to do. Secondly, maybe they will down the line if this US release is successful. And then finally, other countries don't contribute as much to the box office as the United States does. So the US really needs to be the market they're focusing on. And the US has the biggest capital. We can spend the most on merchandise. So they need to make sure the US is invested in the Japanese Godzilla beyond Godzilla Minus One. That's why the Shin Godzilla re-release is coming out. It could also be to test the waters to see how much interest there still is in Shin Godzilla 10 years later, and if it's worth pursuing this sequel. I think it is very likely, very possible, that the results of the Shin Godzilla re-release at the box office will strongly determine what happens next with the Shin Godzilla sequel. I think that is a big, big deal. Matsuoka and Koji Yurei, Toho's international head, are developing more films, so multiple films, not just the Godzilla Minus One sequel, but multiple films, video games, television shows based on the company's existing properties, such as Godzilla and Jujutsu Kaisen, so maybe the films, plural, could refer to things like Jujutsu Kaisen and not specifically Godzilla. The Godzilla 4D ride, the new Godzilla the Ride, The Great Clash, will be coming out. It'll have big features on it. They're going to do a big release internationally. First is opening in the Sabine Amusement Park this August. It will then export to 40 other locations in the US, Canada, Netherlands, Germany, and China down the line. Just anywhere that already has an iRide system, that's where it'll go out. It's then stated that Legendary and Toho have produced a second season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters together. Godzilla Minus 2 will get a release date soon. It seems like they're planning for the movie as early as next year in an effort to build upon Godzilla Minus One's success. Again, if they miss next year, they have to wait till 2028, and by then they're not striking while the iron is hot. I think they very much will push that Godzilla Minus One sequel out next year in November. This, I've also seen some people be like, oh, are we rushing the Godzilla Minus One sequel? Is it coming out too fast? Like, oh, that sounds scary. I'm personally not worried about it because Godzilla Minus One has been slowly chugging along, as we mentioned. Like, it's been an idea in Yamazaki's head for a long time, but dude actually didn't get to work on the project until after COVID. I believe Takashi Yamazaki said it took him about a year and a half to write the script for Godzilla Minus One, so that's a pretty long time to write the script, but it is his first Godzilla movie. It is the baby that he has been working on for so freaking long. Like, it's one that's cooked in his brain for so long, he needed to make sure it was exactly the movie he wanted it to be. And then from there, they were off to the races. They shot the movie in spring of 2022, started VFX late in 2022, early 2023, dropped the first teaser mid-2023, released the movie 2023. The movie had a 1.5-year production. That's how long the movie took to make. Sort of closer to 2 years, like maybe a little closer to 2 years, but about a year and a half. It took about a year and a half to make that movie. Well, Godzilla Minus One came out. Takashi Miyazaki, as early as January 2024, was like, I'm already starting to work on ideas for where I'm taking the sequel. From there, it disappeared for a while, and then boom, all of a sudden, November 2024, Takashi Miyazaki announces, I'm doing the sequel. It's announced, like we're working on it. I've got the script written. It's not locked yet. I'm still perfecting it. A couple months later, he perfects the script in early 2024. Is that right? Or is that early this year? Sorry. He perfects the script very early this year. And from there, from perfecting the script at the very start of this year, then they worked on storyboards. They're now about to start shooting. It'll shoot from August. It will be done by December. They're going to have however long to work on VFX. Theoretically, that'll actually have already started or will start in August when production begins. VFX should continue until the movie's released, but we'll probably get a teaser in the summer. And then the movie will come out in the fall. We're really looking at about the exact same production window for the Godzilla Minus One sequel as we were looking at for Godzilla Minus One. It's about the same production. The only difference is I guess if you want to nitpick, shooting for Minus One happened earlier in the year, whereas this is happening later, so maybe it loses a couple months. You know, maybe we lose a couple months along the way, but we've gained some extra time in pre-production, so in active pre-production, I should mention. So, I don't know. All that going on. Then Bloomberg randomly drops that there's the potential for a Shin Godzilla sequel in the works and a new untitled Southeast Asia-focused Godzilla project, which I don't even know what to think of at this point. I don't know what that's going to become. That one is the big enigma. Truly don't know where that could lead. It could be a series of short films. It could be a Southeast Asia-produced Godzilla film all by itself. It could be any number of things, really. Like I don't totally know where they're going to take it from here. But that's the next time we ever heard them mention a Shin Godzilla sequel. So that's the big history of what's going on with Shin Godzilla and the Shin Godzilla sequel. If I had to guess, I've seen some really good comments. I know Childish Landino pointed this out. Childish pointed out that Takashi Miyazaki was at New York Comic Con, where he filmed a video announcing at New York Comic Con that he would be returning to direct the new Godzilla film for Toho. It's there where it's like that's where they announced that the film was going to like kick off, that there's going to be a new Toho Godzilla movie. I guess the announcement came like a week after New York Comic Con, but I very much agree with the idea that Shinji Higuchi appearing at Comic Con this year for the 9th anniversary, like who cares about the 9th anniversary of Shin Godzilla? Why is G-Kids not releasing the Shin Godzilla movie next year? I guess maybe because they want to release the Minus One sequel next year, so they want to get the Shin Godzilla one out now. You know, like, why this year? Why not for the 10th anniversary? Why not celebrate Shin Godzilla's 10th anniversary with a big re-release and an announcement of a sequel? Well, maybe it's because you don't want to overshadow the Minus One sequel coming out, so you want to get ahead of that by doing it right now. They're just going to do the big Shin Godzilla re-release and announce the sequel now. I also just don't know, like, what are the odds that a big article written by a company that has done interviews, you can go watch them on Bloomberg's website, with that Godzilla, the chief Godzilla officer, what was his name again? I'll look it up. I'll see. Chief Executive Officer Hiroyasu Matsuoka. They've done interviews with him. They're on the website right now. Why would they suddenly drop news of a Shin Godzilla sequel right before a big Shin Godzilla re-release at the same time the Shin Godzilla director is going to be appearing at Comic-Con? It's just too much. I really think that this could be it. Next week we could find out. And if we don't, I still don't think that kills the Shin Godzilla sequel, but I do think that means that they do lack confidence in it. And so they're going to wait to see what happens with the Minus One sequel. That's my guess. Also, big prediction, if you guys remember, San Diego Comic-Con 2023 is where they dropped the first, was it the first or the second trailer for Monarch Legacy of Monsters? I think it was the first trailer for Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I could totally see them dropping the trailer for Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 next week. I could totally see that happening. I guess we will see. But I'll open it up to you guys. Let's do a Q&A for a little while. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I guess they did re-release a Godzilla movie every year if we're counting this Shin Godzilla re-release. Hey, that's a good point. If we count the Shin Godzilla release, then they are sticking to their word in a way, in a very roundabout way, but sort of. Alan says, hello, D-Man. Hit the subscribe button for you. Nice to meet you. What's up, dude? Nice to meet you, too. Thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Hi, D-Man. I know this might be off topic, but I'm very new to the Godzilla fandom, and I've been loving the content since it's really helping me deal with my recent... Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so... let me make sure I get your name right. Tolerin? I'm so sorry to hear that, Tolerin. I'm really glad that my content could do anything for you, you know. I'm glad that it could be any part of your day. I'm really sorry to hear you're dealing with that. I hope you're all right. You know, my heart goes out to you and to your friend's family. Big welcome to the community. You know, you're always welcome here. Same with you, Alan. Just subscribed. But yeah, I really appreciate you commenting that. That means a lot to me, and I'm glad that this could help in any way at all. I really appreciate that. In film-wise, I think a door is finally opening for Godzilla in other unveiling. In other unveiling? Like in other series and stuff? That very well could be. Jess says, damn, I'm 58 years old. Godzilla fan. I'm a 58 years old Godzilla fan watching you grow up in your channel. Yeah. Looking back at those old videos is like, it is surprising to look back at how far I've come on this channel. It's been wild over the years to look back at and be like, whew. I've been making videos for a long time. I've been very young when I started. Saturn Dusk! Thank you for the... What is that? Is that a super chat or is that a members chat? Is that a members chat? What's a members chat? Well, first of all, thank you for being a part of D-Force for 5 months. I really appreciate that, dude. I know you're obviously a long-term patron as well, and the superest of super patrons. But thank you for being a part of D-Force for 5 months. I think you're right about to unlock another D-Force badge. Is this the night we get that special unboxing? No, I was really hoping to... Okay, so my original idea was right when I hit 1,109... 101,954 subscribers. I was going to drop a big 1,109... I was going to drop a big 10/1954 sub special. And of course, I just haven't had any time. I've been so freaking busy. I've been so busy lately. The idea I had for that, I'm like, I haven't gotten to that yet. I still need to film the unboxing. I have my play button in my closet. I gotta go get it. I gotta unbox it. But I gotta wait. I mean, I'm basically caught up on news. I recorded the other day the final GXK news video, and I'm caught up on the MonsterVerse movies and on -1. And then I feel like I'll have a bit more breathing room. I'm going to jump into some other news, catch back up on Monarch and stuff, but I don't think I'm going to spend as much time on Monarch and everything else as I put into Godzilla -1 and the MonsterVerse movies. I'm just not... I don't have... Enough of the viewers don't... You know, you guys have spoken. You guys really are interested in the -1 sequel. There's clearly a big interest in Shin Godzilla 2. There's an interest in the Godzilla -2. So, did I say that? I mean Supernova. So those are the emphasis. And then like Monarch, not as much interest in. So I'm going to try and speed my way through Monarch. Love the videos. Hoping I get a chance to see Shin Godzilla in theaters since I missed out the original release. And I would love a Shin 2. Baja, is that how you say that? I hope you make it to the Shin Godzilla re-release too. I cannot wait for that Shin Godzilla re-release. I know it's going to be awesome. I remember the original Shin Godzilla release back in, was it October of 2016? It was a very magical experience. It was my first Japanese Godzilla film in theaters. It was so freaking cool. And the fact that, like, it was such a niche release that everybody who went to that theater was a big fan of Godzilla. So people were cheering and hooting and hollering. It was like my first mini taste of G-Fest. It was just really interesting to be, for the first time ever, really, in my entire life, surrounded. Baja, you got it. For the first time ever, being surrounded by Godzilla fans who were like there to share in the passion of Godzilla because it was such a niche re-release or a niche release. I don't know if that's going to happen the same time with the re-release. Like, I don't know how popular it'll be, but I'm really hoping to be back in a theater with people cheering for that movie. I've seen Shin Godzilla in theaters again at an Alamo re-release. I believe it was in 2022. The Alamo Drafthouse re-released Shin Godzilla. I was there for that, and that was also very cool. Birdman, thank you so freaking much, dude. I really appreciate the super chat. Since the new Godzilla game is coming out, could Capcom be developing it? I would love to see a Darkstalkers 4 with Godzilla and a gang in it. I'll be honest, I don't know much about the gaming space. I'm very behind on gaming companies. So, like, I know Capcom releases big fighting games. I know, like, they do some Marvel fighting games that I'm pretty sure people love and adore. I wouldn't expect them to release the new Godzilla game because, you know, Godzilla is such a, like, the fact that who did the Godzilla 2014 or the 2013-2014 PS4 game, it was Sony, right? It was just a Sony game. Was there any other studio involved? I think that's who would do it. I know they've announced the new Godzilla console games will be coming up. I have no idea when, where, or how, or what shape they'll take. I know there's a lot of people who are worried that they're going to be console exclusive and they're not going to get a release on, like, PC. I could totally see that happening. But yeah, I'm not the world's biggest gamer. Certainly not anymore. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of games, but I used to play very normie games. You know, I was very into Call of Duty and all that stuff. So I haven't played a lot of stuff. Like, I know you're saying Darkstalkers a classic, but I've never even heard of it, to be honest with you. Namco released it, that's right, but Namco's just a subdivision of Bandai Namco. And I know you seem to not be a fan of that game, but I loved it. I thought that Godzilla PS4 game was very fun, very flawed, but I in fact was playing it this morning when I woke up. I played it. Like, I still play that game to this day. That's great, Alan. Yeah, Kaiju Not. I got 2 victories in Fortnite with the Godzilla skin. Practically the biggest gamer there ever was. '98 was your first intro to Godzilla. I think it was a lot of Americans' first intro to Godzilla, and I think there's no issue with that. I know some people are, like, embarrassed about their fandom for Godzilla 1998. There's nothing wrong with that. If you like Godzilla 1998, more power to you. I like that movie too. Although I will say, this is kind of boring to rewatch sometimes. I do find it to be maybe it's just because I'm so familiar with it, I've seen it so much, but it sometimes it gets a little boring. Saturn Dusk, thank you so much for the super. I really appreciate that. Speaking of games, when are you going to finish finding your daughter? You know what I was saying? The people have spoken. You know what the people really spoke about on this channel was that they could not give less of a crap about Kong Survivor Instinct. The viewers were very clear about that fact. Like, people did not want to see Kong Survivor Instinct videos. I will definitely finish playing that game on stream. I'll probably finish releasing the videos on that. I'm in no priority. It's not a rush because, like, boy, were people clear that they could not care less. It just was not a series that people were very interested in, which I think is disappointing. I do think that's a bummer. And, you know, I get people complaining, like, when are we gonna get another big MonsterVerse Godzilla game, or when are we gonna get another Godzilla game? And then you look at it and it's like, Kong Survivor Instinct didn't do well. That was your test. You were tested right there and you spoke loud and clear. I'm not going to pay for a MonsterVerse game. I know it was one with Kong and not Godzilla. I do know that Godzilla would have probably brought more people to the game, but at the end of the day, people didn't show up for the game. You know what I mean? Like, people didn't show up for it as much as they did with other projects, so I don't think you're gonna get more MonsterVerse games, at least not anytime immediately. That's my guess. Again, could be wrong. Maybe Kong Survivor Instinct was such a low-budget game that it made back its money very quickly, and so they're going to do a sequel to it, and it'll be even bigger and better, and eventually they'll get Godzilla. I know they did want to do more games. I know they did want Godzilla, but yeah, I don't know. I saw someone asking about it. Honestly, I'm probably not near the end, Saturn Dust, because I still have to fight Abaddon and Tiamat, and there's whatever's going on with Tiamat's daughter. Like, I feel like there's probably still a lot of that game left. I saw somebody ask about it. Where did the comment go? Someone was asking about a Monarch physical release. Where was that? I don't see it anymore. Someone was asking about a Monarch physical release. Whoever it was, re-comment that. I don't see the comment anymore. How would you design Godzilla for Godzilla Minus 2? I have a great idea. Godzilla Minus 1's design was great. It's my current all-time favorite Godzilla design. I think it's fantastic. But what would be a little more iconic is, and it would kind of help to create some brand consistency with the upcoming Shin Godzilla sequel, I think that this should be the design for the Godzilla Minus 2 movie. I think that this should be the design. Like, this should be the way Godzilla looks in that movie, especially if they amp up the human nature of his teeth and take it a step further for Minus 1 and give him human eyes. Godzilla Minus 1 has eyes of my dog. My mom got a dog, and it has the same eyes as Godzilla in Minus 1. I don't want to see any more of that. I need to see this Godzilla, but with human eyes and human teeth. I want them to be very human. I think that would be great. What about the mobile game? Are you talking about MonsterVerse mobile games, or are you talking about like Godzilla Battle Line's a huge success. Godzilla Battle Line's doing incredibly well. People love that game. It's doing really well. I don't see the follow-up. Like, who commented that about the Monarch physical release? I want to shout out whoever commented it because I saw them comment it twice. I missed it both times. I'll try and scroll up and look for it. Oh, okay. It was Alan. Guys, any chance Monarch will get a physical media release? Let me look it up really fast. I don't know if we've ever seen. I don't know if we've ever seen an Apple show. Has any Apple TV Plus show gotten a Blu-ray? Fan favorites like Ted Lasso and Severance have gotten Blu-rays. Though it's not common. I would guess, did Godzilla Singular Point get a physical release? I don't know if it got a legal one. When I look it up, it says Singular Point has a physical release, but only in Japan. No, doesn't seem so. Doesn't seem so. Point had no official physical release. I would guess Monarch Legacy of Monsters won't get a physical release for probably 10 years. Or for, let's say, I could see it happening in 2033, 10 years after Monarch Season 1 aired. You know what I mean? Like, there's probably a major window of exclusivity. I guess I might start lagging soon. I guess my internet just kind of dipped for a second. But I don't see them releasing a Monarch Legacy of Monsters physical if they didn't even release a Singular Point physical release. I don't think that'll happen. Why won't it let me read the rest of your name, Jess? Jess Mo, what? Or is it Jessie? Could be Jessie. Montanez? Jesse Montanez? Is that how you say it? Jesse Montanez? Am I totally butchering that? Jesse Montanez? I might be butchering your name. Jesse, thank you so much for the super. I really appreciate that. Jesse says, damn, Shin left frozen with little ones. Shin left frozen with little ones on tail. Ned number 2. I don't know what Ned number 2 means. I got some notification on my phone. It was nothing. It was a nothing notification. What does Ned number 2 mean? Yes, Shin Godzilla was left frozen at the end of Shin Godzilla with those little babies growing off his tail. Where's that going in the Shin Godzilla sequel? I have no idea. I don't know. My original idea, like, here's a question. Let me do a poll. I think I can just do a poll like this. Do you actually want a Shin Godzilla 2? Need. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Duh. No. The ending was perfect. No. I hated the first. Those are your options. We'll see what you guys vote for. Yes. Okay. Let me go back to your comment. Alrighty. Good night, Alan. I hope you got some good sleep tonight. It's bedtime. Alright, see you, man. Thank you so much for subscribing. Jesse says, damn, Shin left frozen with little ones on tail. Need number 2. Okay, well, here's my thought. Do we actually want a Shin Godzilla 2? Because I've seen some people make a pretty compelling argument that Shin Godzilla left with a beautiful, ambiguous ending that was open to interpretation and carried a lot of thematic weight. At the end of Godzilla Minus One, the whole point was that Godzilla's defeated by committee. It's a group effort to take down Godzilla, and Godzilla must evolve to overcome that group effort. And he realizes he himself can't do it alone, and therefore he creates a committee of his own with those creatures on his tail, and in some ways it represents that this will never end, that things are still far from settled, that we just simply have to learn to coexist with Godzilla. There never will be a proper defeating of Godzilla. He will always exist. We will always have to contend with him. And so it leaves off on an ambiguous note. I've seen a lot of people. All right, see you, Alan. See you, man. I've seen a lot of people argue we should not get a sequel because it compromises the ending of Shin Godzilla. It kind of spoils the ambiguous, beautiful, thematic ending of Shin Godzilla. I have always felt the ending of Shin Godzilla felt a little more like an FU ending than a beautiful, ambiguous send-off. You know what Godzilla movie I truly think never needs a follow-up because the ending is so perfect and it's not necessarily ambiguous. It leaves the door wide open, but it carries so much thematic weight, and we know where things go from here. It's that history shows again and again things are going to continue the way they are, and that's Godzilla vs. Destroya. I don't ever need a follow-up to the Heisei series. The ending of that series is beautiful. It's so great. Baby Godzilla becoming Godzilla, Godzilla dying and being replaced by Junior. It was a perfect ending. Godzilla will always exist. As long as nuclear weapons exist, so too will Godzilla. It was great. It was great. I don't think that Shin Godzilla fits that as well. The ending of Shin Godzilla, hey, if that's the last we ever see of Shin Godzilla, if that was where the series ended, I've settled into that ending. I settled into it over time. I became very happy with it. You know, like when that movie came out, I very much viewed it as an FU ending. I wanted to see what happened next. I was very, very like, we need a sequel. I don't need a sequel anymore. I'm very settled into the ambiguous ending. And to be honest, nowadays I actually prefer ambiguous endings. but I would like to see a Shin Godzilla sequel, and I'll say this might be controversial. I like Godzilla Minus One a whole lot more than Shin Godzilla. I think Godzilla Minus One is a far better movie. I think the characters are better. If there's a story, all right, see you, Mechagodzilla. Sorry, man. Sorry you gotta go so quickly. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good night, wherever you are. Doc Kaiju, thank you so much for joining D-Force. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thanks, Doc. This might be a controversial statement. As much as I would like, if there is a series I want to see followed up on simply from the perspective of I like the characters more and I like the world more, it's Minus One. I want to see Minus One followed up upon more. If there's a movie who I'm happier with the ending of, it's Godzilla Minus One. In fact, I could have viewed, I would think that Minus One would be a little better if it didn't end with the teaser that Godzilla is regenerating and will return. If the ambiguous ending of that movie was that Noriko has the mark growing up her neck, with the ambiguous thing being like, she's scarred from what has happened, there will be permanent consequences for her. Like, she's scarred forever. That'd be a better ending to me. I'd be happier with leaving the series there if Godzilla wasn't regenerating. The fact that Godzilla's regenerating, it's like, okay, give me a sequel, I guess. But as it stands, the ending of Shin Godzilla, I am more interested to follow up upon. I would more excited to jump full force into the Shin Godzilla and be like, what happens next with the tail and what's going on there? You know? Minus One, I think, is a more perfect film, and I think ends more perfectly than Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, I'm less interested in the world of Shin Godzilla than Minus One, but the ending of Shin Godzilla, I think, has more exciting ramifications, especially because I care about those characters a whole lot less, so if they start to get murdered by Godzilla, I'm going to feel a whole lot better than I'm going to feel if I watch Godzilla Minus One and a single bad thing happens to a single one of those characters I become very attached to. Yeah, Doc, you're right. The Gemstone continuations of the Heisei series are fine. I was also really sad last year that we didn't get a follow-up on the Gemstone series. You can argue all you want. I know Rick the Squirrel. I saw him earlier. I missed his comment. I know Rick commented. I don't think he's still here. I think he was just saying hello to a fellow member of our big Godzilla gang. Rick, if you're still here or if you see this, what's up, man? I hope you're doing well. Sorry I missed your comment earlier. I was in the middle of a big... I was doing my big main portion focusing on those articles. But I know Rick, I think Rick's very passionate about, I believe if I'm not mistaken, Rick's perspective is that those short films are direct continuations of the Heisei series. I think he's one of the people that argues that, whereas I know some people argue that they're not technically following up on the Heisei series. I think that they absolutely are continuations of the Heisei series, and I do not view them as canon to the Heisei series. The Heisei series ends in 1995 with Godzilla vs. Destroya, and now we have a fun side project, basically a what if for funsies, and we get to take a look back into that world. Like, I don't view those short films to mean anything canonically, but I do think they're very cool, and I do love that they are a spiritual continuation of that Heisei series. I don't ever need a film following up on the Heisei series. I would love a film following up on the Showa series, because I know canonically we end things with Destroy All Monsters, but man, I would love to follow up on the Showa series just because I think it's such a beautiful world with so much fun and potential. I don't need a follow-up on the Showa series, I guess. I certainly don't need one on the Heisei series. There's no Millennium continuities I'm really all that interested in following up upon. GMK, I suppose, maybe is the most, the one that I think would be the coolest, but not really any of the Millennium series that I'd like to follow up on. Minus One could have been a beautiful ending if they didn't have the Godzilla Will Return teaser at the end, which I think a little bit spoils the ending of that movie, but obviously there's going to be a sequel, so I'm excited for that. And then Shin Godzilla, I'm like, all for, bring it on. I know it kind of destroys the thematic ending of Shin Godzilla, and it will destroy the ambiguity of it forever. We'll never have the ambiguity of the tale. We'll never be able to debate it anymore because we'll get a definitive answer to it, but I'm all for it, man. I've always wanted a Shin Godzilla 2. That's so funny, Saturn Dusk. Did you comment that before or after you had to have commented that before I said that. Where am I at on a GMK sequel? It'd be cool. It's the Millennium series I'd like to follow up on the most, but I don't need one. I don't need a GMK sequel. I think that film ends well enough. Alrighty, see ya, Shin. See ya, man. I'm not a fan of Jet Jaguar in the next movie. Jesse, me neither, man. I do not get the hype behind Jet Jaguar appearing in Supernova. I just don't need it. Or Jet Jaguar. I got so many comments about the way I pronounce Jet Jaguar. You guys, I've been pronouncing Jet Jaguar like Jet Jaguar for 10 years of this channel and no one commented about it. Not once. When I make one video being like, I hate the idea that Trapper pilots Jet Jaguar and kills kaiju with him. I think that's dumb. And now everybody has a problem with the way I say it. Hi D-Man, hope you're doing great. I always enjoy the little community we got going on with these live streams. Anyways, I got a question for you. What do you think the Southeast Asia Godzilla project is? What's up, MM Live? How's it going, man? What do I think is going on with the Godzilla Southeast Asia project? Dude, that is the question mark. I have no idea. If I'm going to take a very conservative guess here, my guess on where we're heading with the Southeast Asia Godzilla project is not terribly exciting. It's not something crazy. It's very small. I think that the thing we could be doing next is just simply a ride. A ride. I think that Southeast Asia territories, you know, what was it? It was like Toho. It was a different branch of Toho, like Toho Asia or something. Toho Asia or whoever produced that Southeast Asia Godzilla Roar video. All right, Enzaru, take care, man. I hope you have a good night. Whoever produced that, maybe they're going to do a Godzilla the Ride over there with that new Godzilla design, and there could be like an exclusive event happening with that Godzilla. If we could get really crazy with it, they could release a brand new Godzilla film, and there could be a third country entering the chat. It will no longer be limited to the United States and Japan. Godzilla will expand officially into other territories, and the brand will grow from there. That, I think, would get very hectic very quickly. I could really personally only see that working if the MonsterVerse comes to a definitive end and Godzilla leaves the MonsterVerse so he can go join that series. But it could be literally anything from short films to a new animated project to a ride to a brand new movie. It's wild. White Fang, thank you so much for the super. I really appreciate that. And thank you to all the D-Force members, SaturnDust.Kaiju, White Fang, all you guys for being in the chat. I really appreciate you, D-Force. White Fang says, I'd like a Shin Godzilla. I'd like a Shin Godzilla because he doesn't die. Like a sequel. I'd like a Shin Godzilla sequel because he doesn't die. The thing that made Shin Godzilla so interesting and so different from other versions of Godzilla is that he has that ability to continue to evolve to overcome threats, which means there's a very natural, organic reason for Shin Godzilla to change designs each movie, to change power sets each movie, for Shin Godzilla to even change characterizations. Imagine a world where Godzilla realizes that under constant threat and attack, no, we're kind of moving away from the Goromaki situation. Like, is Goromaki still a part of Godzilla? Who knows? Is that what the things coming off his tail are? Who knows? If we move a little bit away from that and towards a more traditional Godzilla, it could be funny if Godzilla realizes, like, damn, I cannot get away from humanity trying to kill me. And what's worse than that, now I have to fight enemy monsters and I'm dealing with too much at once. And Godzilla's evolution is just simply him being like, screw it, I'm a good guy. I'm on your side. Leave me alone. That's essentially how the Showa Godzilla plays out, where he's like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the people. I'm going to fight King Ghidorah, and that's going to be that, and I hope everybody leaves me alone. Yeah, everybody's being so mean about the way I said Jet Jaguar. I know it's an accent. I am not the only one who pronounces it Jet Jaguar. Where would I have gotten that from? I wouldn't have pronounced it Jet Jaguar if there was no precedent for it. If it was pronounced Jet Jaguar in every single movie, if like the dub that I grew up with, or the YouTube videos I grew up watching, like James Rolfe and all that, if everybody, literally every single example pronounces it Jet Jaguar, where did I get my pronunciation from? Because my entire life I've called him Jet Jaguar. I pronounced it Jaguar in every context and didn't even know it was wrong until my friend called me out on it. Admiral Akbar, same thing, dude. Until those comments got real aggressive about it. It was like, you can't call me, you can't even make a video about this if you don't even know how to say his name. Give us a Godzilla for DCU. Godzilla versus Superman would make billions of dollars. I also guess we are part of the DC fandom now. I like DC. I've always been a DC fella, but I'm never the biggest DC Comics fella. Like, I liked the movies. I felt very conflicted on the films that have come out post Man of Steel. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they really miss. Sometimes I'll watch them and love them at first and then grow to dislike them. Sometimes I'll review Batman vs. Superman on this channel as one of my first ever movie reviews, and I will have to review it in 3 segments over the course of that review, recorded 3 different days, where you can watch my opinion go from this movie rocked to I have major issues with it. So... but I'm so hyped for the new Superman movie. I thought it was great. I loved it. I cannot wait to go see it again. Superman's awesome. I loved that film. And I don't think a Godzilla versus Superman movie would make maybe it'd make $1 billion. I don't know how much that movie would make. I'd be very interested to see that happen. I particularly think there is a potential for an animated Godzilla versus Kong versus Justice League crossover to get produced at some point, but that would have to mean that Toho would have to continue to allow Legendary to retain the rights. I think that will really depend on how the MonsterVerse movies do. You know, if those MonsterVerse movies do really well, and if the DC establishes itself very firmly and continues forward very firmly, and each movie's a big hit, I could see them taking risks on some side projects like that. Do you call actual jaguars jaguars? Yeah, I think I do. Yes, I do. It's a jaguar. It's a jaguar. That's how I say it. It's a jaguar. Yes, I call them jaguars. Now that you ask, yes, I do. I don't necessarily enunciate it as hard as I do when it's time for jaguar. Like, I don't call them jaguars, I suppose. I call them jaguars. But it's got more of a wire in it than jaguar. Jaguar sounds so wrong to me. Jaguar. And by the way, I'm pretty sure his Japanese pronunciation's like Jaguar. Is it not? Let me pull up the freaking spelling on it. I'm bumping the mic in the process. You deal with the noise. Let's see. Jaga. Oh, it's even more different. Jeto Jaga. Oh, they pronounce it like Jaguar in the freaking dub that I grew up with. Maybe that's where I got it from. It's because they pronounce it I'm pretty positive they pronounce it like Jaguar. I'm pretty sure they put some spin on it. Jeto Jaga. Which makes sense. Jet Jaga. Jet Jaga. He's Jet Jaguar in my world. Leave me alone about it. I remember back in the day, I used to get bullied so hard because I used to pronounce it nuclear. And oof, comment section after comment section after comment section. You can't talk about Godzilla. You can't even pronounce nuclear. You pronounce it nuclear, not nuclear. And then I remember someone used to always link the clip of Homer Simpson going, nuclear. Bullies, man. Bullies for decade. Oh. And he only just closed all tabs. D-Man, how would you feel about Shin 2 being an anime film? I think Anno would be on board and it could be really awesome. Shin would reach its fullest potential. That'd be insane. That'd be the first time a Godzilla continuity made the jump from live action to anime. It would certainly keep the budget lower, make it more of a niche project, like I mentioned. I would be shocked if they did that, but I would also think that there's some potential there for that. I will say, if they're going to do a Shin Godzilla sequel, I would be disappointed if it was an anime. But that's not to say I would dislike it, especially depending on how the animation, depending on how the animation is done. Like if it's really high quality, it could be awesome, but I would be a little underwhelmed, I'll say. If they're going to do a Shin Godzilla sequel, I think it should be live action. The fact we missed out on Adam West Batman versus Showa Godzilla will always be the biggest loss in our universe. It's sad. It's a bummer, but maybe in a comic book someday, which I know is not the same, but who knows. Demon, the original Megalon, the English dub, they said Jet Jaguar. Jaguar. I was there in the movie when my dad took me to see it. So you're saying in the original English dub, they pronounce it Jet Jaguar. I swear I remember hearing that freaking low quality English dub of the movie where the guy says Jet Jaguar. Which still has the R at the end instead of wire. Leave me alone. At least it's not King... Yeah. At least it's not Grace Randolph's King Gojira. That is a special moment. She was not the only one I was poking fun at in that video. Yeah, childish. My comment on that video blew up. I need to leave more comment on other people's videos because now that I have a check next to my name, if I comment on someone else's video soon enough, my comments can kind of take off because the YouTube creator gets a notification now when I comment on people's videos because it got a check next to my name. So they'll get a notification when I comment on their videos, and so if they like my thing, it could blow up. It's silly, but that was funny. I saw a lot of people see me in that comment section being like, "D-Man on a box office discussion? That's crazy." Why is that crazy? I've always covered the box office, first of all. I've always kept up with it. Secondly, I tried to respond to those comments, and for some reason, I was not allowed to re-comment on that channel. I don't know why, but when I tried to respond to comments on that video, I couldn't respond to them. I don't know what was up with that. It was weird. I posted like 3 replies, and they all got deleted. I wonder if we're ever getting Shin Ultra 7 since Shin Godzilla is getting one. You know, if the new Shin Godzilla does really well, maybe. But here's another prediction for you. I would think... Anno seemed, if you read the... Which, by the way, because someone help me out with the freaking source on that. I'll find it myself, I'm sure. I can find it, I'm sure, if I dig. But where did that news about Anno pitching a Shin Godzilla 2 come from? Did it come from specifically... the art of Godzilla, or did it come from somewhere else? I don't know. But supposedly when Anno pitched Shin Godzilla 2 and Toho rejected it, he had prepared a pitch and he felt kind of offended that they rejected it and felt like he wasted his time. Given where Anno's career is at, given his, mood these days, I would be a little surprised, especially given the way he, didn't do Shin Ultraman, which shocks me. He worked on it, but didn't direct it. I would be surprised if Hideaki Anno actually winds up directing a Shin Godzilla 2. I could see him producing it. I could see him writing and producing it. I would think Shinji Higuchi would direct it if Hideaki Anno doesn't, but I would be surprised if Anno himself directs it. Saw someone post Yamazaki's official Ultra Monster designs for the ride. One of the best things I ever discovered. I haven't seen Yamazaki's Ultra Monsters, but I've seen the poster, which got Zeton in it. It's very classic. When are you defending your Godzilla Jeopardy win? That is whenever Kaiju Canuck invites me back. That's entirely up to Kaiju Canuck. Oh, it might have come from Toho Kingdom, really? Huh. Interesting. You might want to ask Matt from Monstrosities about where it's from. I heard it from his video first. Yeah, his video is also where I first heard about it. His video is where I first heard about it and heard the most detail about it. I could reach back out to Matt. I mean, I still talk to Matt. I could ask Matt about that. He and I are supposed to... We're probably going to call and hang out sometime soon, so I'll ask him about that when we do. What do you think Toho would do with the King Kong rights nowadays? Nothing. I would love for Toho to do something with King Kong, especially because, remember back in the day, they used to just take random swings and they'd release, like, Half Human and King Kong Escapes and all sorts of weird little projects. Like, that's cool stuff. I would love if Toho randomly was like, we're back in the monster game full force. We're just going to start doing other monster projects outside of Godzilla again. That'd be so dope if they released a Japanese King Kong adaptation. I'd love that. That'd be pretty great. I would love to see, love to see a Japanese King Kong versus Godzilla, because I think it would remove the ego from it. That might be wishful thinking, but the Godzilla power fantasy is an American power fantasy. US Godzilla fans are particularly egregious in that they are overly attached to the power fantasy of Godzilla. I've always thought that what Godzilla comic is it? Does anybody remember the one where Godzilla fights the Greek gods? What Godzilla comic is that? Is that Godzilla in Hell? Where Godzilla fights Zeus and he kills Zeus in a single blast of the atomic breath. And then Godzilla in Hell was its own special breed of that's the most overpowered Godzilla we've ever gotten. He could blow up an entire universe by just shooting his atomic breath. It was ridiculous, but it was fun for that one-off story. I never needed to see it followed up on again. Those comic books, I feel like, really play into the overpowered nature of Godzilla in a way that I find to a little bit be boring. Like, I really liked Godzilla, Godzilla Rulers of Earth. I thought that was a very fun one, especially because at times it really limited Godzilla's power. You know, like Godzilla goes toe-to-toe with Zilla for a while, and Zilla keeps up with him for a good long time. That was really cool. That's what I really liked. But by the end of that series, Godzilla had become so overpowered. And now we're getting to the point where, like, Godzilla kills the Greek gods with his atomic breath. And in the Marvel universe, Godzilla just killed the Celestial with no trouble. Boo. Boo. I don't like the overpowered Godzilla. I find him to be incredibly boring and dull. I feel like Taco from King Kong vs. Godzilla. No more. I am sick of Godzilla. I find overpowered Godzilla to be such a boring character. There's no stakes. It's just waiting for the power fantasy of Godzilla kills this character to be played out. Godzilla one-shotting Superman, I will stand by, is super silly. And you know how I know it's super silly? Because Brian Buccellato is a long-term Superman writer. You know what Brian Buccellato is aware of? That one of Superman's weaknesses is specifically nuclear radiation. Superman's always had a weakness to radiation, but you know what it doesn't do? Kill him instantly. I see some people being like, you don't understand, D-Man Atomic Man is a Superman villain. You just don't read enough Superman comics. Superman can get hit by nuclear bombs, they can shrink him down to the bone, and then he can get up from it. He can get up from it and keep going. You know who's not doing that? The Monsterverse Godzilla, who, from Godzilla King of the Monsters onward, in one of the silliest retcons in the Monsterverse that I don't like, but it is a retcon, it is canon, it's lore in the Monsterverse. The Monsterverse Godzilla, his atomic breath has healing properties. It rejuvenates life. Where Godzilla and the Mutos grow, life grows. Life is restored. Godzilla's atomic breath operates on Titan radiation. He breathes in evil radiation. You know, he takes on ionizing, dangerous radiation. That's what he eats, he consumes, and then he releases healthy doses of Titan radiation, which is this nurturing healing factor that is essentially amped up sunlight. It's like if we amped up the healthy properties that sunlight has on photosynthesis. It's like this, like what's the word that's escaping my mind? This fertilizer. It's like a fertilizer for plants. It restores the atmosphere and all this stuff. It can somehow also dissipate clouds. Like, what is that? It didn't do that in King of the Monsters. How did Godzilla shoot a cloud out of the sky in the New Empire? Or did Mothra do that and they just didn't show it because that was bad editing? Who knows? Point is, Godzilla's atomic breath in the Monsterverse, lore accurate, should have probably helped Superman, if anything. It certainly wouldn't have one-shot killed him. Brian Buccellato, long-term DC writer, also knew that, which is why he had to add that silly explanation. The Monsterverse Godzilla's atomic breath operates on the same radioactive frequency as kryptonite. It was like shooting Superman with a kryptonite beam. Oh yeah, that checks out. No, that's always been part of the Monsterverse lore. Yes, the kryptonite breath, my favorite power of Godzilla's. I find that the current Godzilla fantasy, the current Godzilla power fantasy, is a really silly thing that I'm really not into in the comics. I don't like how overpowered he is in the DC comics. I certainly don't like how overpowered he is in the Marvel comics. I find Godzilla generally in America to be an overpowered, boring character. That's my big issue with the New Empire. It's my big issue with Godzilla vs. Kong. And yet somehow some silly goobers out there find Godzilla to be underpowered in Godzilla vs. Kong in the New Empire because, like, Kong can go toe-to-toe with him, I guess. Hey guys, they're just writing the character to have a fight with another character in a way that's like entertaining for us. That doesn't weaken Godzilla at all. They made Godzilla more powerful than ever. If anything, they just said to continue to increase Kong's strengths to be able to keep up with the new overpowered Godzilla. Oh my god, I could rant about it for days, but like, hey dudes, the 2014 Godzilla would get washed by Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong and Kong from the New Empire. He'd get annihilated. 2014 Godzilla was so weak that the military injured the dude by shooting him in the neck. The 2014 Godzilla had legitimate weaknesses that could be exploited. He was slow. He was lumbering. His atomic breath took a lot out of him. He was worn out. He could get tired. He would get tired easily. And if you're like, well, that's because he was, long time sleeping. He was sleeping for a long time. He was underpowered because of that. Then you're not keeping up with my Monsterverse lore timeline breakdowns, especially my Godzilla 2014 timeline breakdowns, which I'm 3 out of probably 5 entries into right now. You got to go watch those lore videos for lore accurate Monsterverse Godzilla and where his base power was in 2014. And you'll realize that the power scaling of the US Godzilla has gotten ridiculous over time. Which is an incredibly long-winded way to say, I would be very excited for a Japanese King Kong vs. Godzilla because I really do think that's an American thing. Shin Godzilla bleeds by getting shot in the back by missiles. That was a big part of the movie, is that Shin Godzilla could be killed. Shin Godzilla could be killed by a nuclear bomb. By the end of the movie, it's uncertain, but earlier in the movie, Shin Godzilla was not yet evolved enough to survive. So it gave the human characters a weakness to exploit, which made Shin Godzilla a more compelling character and made the whole movie more engaging. Godzilla -1 got killed by balloons. Godzilla -1 is not one of the stronger Godzillas we've seen, and I would argue he's the most compelling Godzilla we've seen in decades. It is not about how strong Godzilla is. It's about how well written your stories are. And the stronger Godzilla is, the harder it is to write a compelling story around him. That's the main issue I have with the overpowered Godzilla stuff. That's all my rant. That's everything that I gotta say about that. The only Godzilla I want to see be overpowered is this guy. The beautiful boy himself. Godzilla Rage Across Time. Is that the one where he fights the gods? But I agree, it would be an incredibly fun animated series. I've said for a long time, if I could greenlight my dream anime, my dream Godzilla anime, I would simply dreamlight an adaptation of Godzilla Rulers of Earth. Those early IDW comics, IDW I think has oversaturated the Godzilla comic market to the point where I simply cannot keep up. I own a lot of them. I haven't been able to read one in a long time because these news videos take a long time. I spend way too much time working on this channel, but I haven't been able to keep up on all of that stuff in a while. but they've simply released too many to even catch up on. You know, there's so freaking many IDW comics, but the earlier runs, maybe even more like the middle runs, because towards the end of the first time IDW had the Godzilla license, they really came into their own with Godzilla. Godzilla in Hell was a lot of fun. Rage Across Time was great. Rulers of Earth, I think, is the best Godzilla comic ever. It's just so fun. It's so fanfic. It's so great. It's so cheese. It's so perfect. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see those comics adapt. I think that would be great. I totally agree. I would love to see Godzilla handled in Warhammer 40,000. I don't know the lore for that, but I know the power scaling in that community is very dense. Birdman says, I don't like the Mothra comic. It's so boring. Like, wow, first issue is her fighting fighting a boring bug for 5 billion times. Like, come on, IDW, give us Death Ghidorah. What a way to blow it. I haven't read the Mothra comic yet. I actually haven't even found it. I've looked in stores and I still haven't come across it yet. I mean, he got killed by water pressure. Yeah, I mean, I was obviously oversimplifying Godzilla -1's defeat for a big purpose of just saying Godzilla -1 is not one of the stronger Godzillas we've come across. But I find him to be so compelling. D-Man rants about Godzilla power scaling. D-Man rants about Godzilla power scaling, and there was not a single miss. Thank you, Goji Wars. Somebody gets it, man. I will admit, I don't think he should be overpowered, but I think he should be indestructible most of the time to make people feel hopeless. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Godzilla should feel indestructible. He should feel invincible. He shouldn't literally be invincible. I personally think that Shin Godzilla portrays a Godzilla who feels invincible but isn't. I think Godzilla 2014 portrays a Godzilla who feels invincible but very clearly isn't, as he does struggle in that fight a lot. And that's the Godzilla I find the most compelling of all, is a Godzilla who feels overwhelming to humanity but can be exploited if you're smart enough. That's the whole thing from the very beginning. Godzilla 1954 was indestructible. Nothing we could do could stop him. And yet Serizawa found a way because he was that smart. That is what Godzilla is. He is something for us to overcome with our brains, not with our bronze. The stronger you make Godzilla, the harder it is to do that in a compelling way. Well, he's a king of the monsters for sure. That doesn't mean he needs to be boringly overpowered. Singular Point, I would say, had an interesting mechanic where both humans and kaiju used archetype to counter each other, creating some nice dynamics and grounded monsters. Sin, speaking my language, Godzilla Singular Point's a wonderful show. I think it's fantastically written. I understand that it's very dense and some people get lost and some people get bored, but for me, holy crap, that show is just stellar. And yeah, no, I loved that. I loved that Archetype created a really interesting scenario where it felt toxic to humanity, but if you got a kaiju out of it, like Rodans, they'd die without it. So it was like this nice world where they like countered one another in very interesting ways, just like you're saying. And then you could weaponize the archetype against them. They can weaponize the archetype to change our world around us, and we can change the archetype to get back at them. It was so freaking great. I loved it. Also, what I thought was so cool, I don't hear many people talk about this. I don't hear many people talk about Singular Point, which I still need to finish reviewing on this channel. But what I don't hear many people talk about in Singular Point is that is the first Toho Godzilla that doesn't have atomic breath. That Godzilla uses archetype to use his beam. You remember that scene early in the show? It's like in episode 3. They put together the archetype cubes. They beam light from one another. They get like, and the cube explodes because it was summoning energy from the future to the present. And so it was getting stronger by the second, you know, like it was amplifying energy from by simply taking the energy that's already going to be there in the future, the light energy, bringing that light to the present. It created an explosive effect. You know, it was so powerful. Godzilla Ultima does the same thing. That's what his beam is. He summons energy from the future. He can project energy from the future to the present and create a beam that can cut through buildings and blow things up. It was so cool. When I learned that, I was so hype about that. I was like, that is such a cool, it's such a clever idea. He bends space and time. That Godzilla has the ability to bend space and time and shoot it as a weapon. You know who else did that very randomly? Snow Godzilla. Remember Snow Godzilla from the Shin Godzilla movie? He did the same thing. Although I don't know if he did that on purpose. He somehow found a way to bring a kid's dad into the present as a child, or turn his dad into a child. I don't remember. I'll have to rewatch that. It was a very, very goofy watch. I watched that movie without subtitles, so I truly don't really know what was happening in it. Do you prefer Shin or -1, or both for different reasons? If I really had to pick, it's no contest. I prefer -1. I think -1 was a better movie. I think -1 was a better movie. I think it had a better Godzilla. I think it had a much stronger human cast. I think it had a better story. I think it was all around, I think, in my opinion, the better movie. But I love Shin Godzilla, and I also completely get why there are many people who like Shin Godzilla more. I know there was a comic where Venom possessed Godzilla. I still haven't read that one, but that is silly stuff. That's the kind of silly stuff I like, by the way. I like when they do stuff like that. That's a great crossover of IPs right there. To have Godzilla get Venomized and have Godzilla go Hulk out, that's great. That is a great IP crossover. I love it. Something you can only do in a crossover between those two specific characters. That's so fun. Okay, I'm going to end that poll. I wish I could see where do I get to see the results of that poll? It just disappeared into the abyss. Oh, there it is. 82% of you guys are like, duh, I obviously want a Shin Godzilla 2. 14% of you thought that the ending was perfect and doesn't need a sequel. Now, I'll do one last poll for the stream. I'm probably going to wrap it up here. My throat is getting really tired from talking. I am projecting at a higher volume than I normally do for these live streams, so I'm really burning my throat. But what are you more excited for? I'll probably put this poll on the channel as well in the next few days. Yeah, the 2% that didn't like Shin Godzilla. New poll, what are you more excited for? Shin Godzilla 2 or Godzilla -2? Do you have a video breaking down Singular Point? I don't. I didn't even finish reviewing it. I need to finish reviewing it, but I don't have any breakdowns for it. I really should get on that. It is one of my goals. One of my goals, let's see if I stick to it, is to finish reviewing Singular Point by the end of the year. I would love to do that. But I don't have Netflix on this computer anymore, and I don't live at home anymore. So I don't have Netflix anywhere but my phone. I don't know how I'm going to get footage for my Singular Point reviews anymore. My Godzilla series has elements from Mark Kersney's, I don't know how to say that name, his novel, which are good to read, and you should check them out. Oh, that comment got removed. I don't know what novels you were referring to, but almost equally excited. I just want both to be great. Hunter, that's a great way to put it. And I feel the exact same way. I'm almost as excited for Shin Godzilla 2 as I am for Godzilla -2. But I am more excited for Godzilla -2, but ultimately I just want both to be great. Tough question, since we know nothing about either movie. It's just more generally, which one are you more excited to see get a follow-up? Which one are you more excited to see them follow up from here? Giant Condor -2. If the Giant Condor shows up, it's really more like a -infinity, because that guy's overpowered as hell, and he would just annihilate. He would wipe the floor with the -1 universe, and any universe. The only thing he couldn't conquer is Star King, who is his own breed of uh-oh. My Godzilla series has elements from Mark Carsani's Godzilla novels, which are good to read. You should check them out for compelling and good reading. What Godzilla novels? Are they the English translated novelizations? What Godzilla novels? Jess, you want me to go to bed? Horseman, sup man? Been around your channel for a few years now. Great to see the kaiju universe still getting hardcore love. Thank you so much, Horseman. I really appreciate that. I appreciate everybody for supporting, whether you joined today, whether you just found my channel for my new Shin Godzilla coverage, or whether you've been around for years. I appreciate all of you guys so much. You guys mean everything to me. Like, you guys have given me all the opportunities I've had. It's because of you that I've been able to work with Anime Matsuri. It was because of you that I was able to work with Toho on those Godzilla ads. It's because of you guys that I was able to go to Japan. Specifically, a lot of that was the help I got from Saturn Dusk getting to Japan. You guys are great, and without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do any of this. And now I'm like, I gotta find ways to move to the next chapter, you know? Like, I didn't get, Godzilla Store didn't go back to Anime Matsuri this year, so I didn't either. But, like, man, I would love to start working on bigger projects, you know? Like, I would love to be working on projects like, I reached out to the Alamo Draft House. The Alamo Draft House launched the very first ever Godzilla-themed theater. I reached out to them to see if they would be willing to do stuff like for this channel. I haven't heard back from them, but I would love that. I'm gonna say it again. If we can get my... Oh, I know Saturn Dusk. It came out of nowhere. If we can get my Godzilla the Ride Great Clash Breakdown, the Mechagodzilla video, if we can get that video to 40,000 likes... The reason I want to get it to 40,000 likes is because if it becomes the most liked news video I've ever released, it shows there's such an enormous demand for coverage of that. I really strongly believe those numbers, the numbers generated on my Godzilla the Ride content, will be enough to get Toho involved. I think that I can make a compelling pitch to Toho if we can get those numbers high enough and work with them to bring exclusive content for you guys for this channel about Godzilla the Ride and beyond. That's a big wish, you know. I obviously actually never thought I'd hit that number. It's just a bit too high of a goal. Ridiculously high goal, but that's the dream, man, is to start working with more of these companies to bring you guys to less of report other people's news and to more break news with you guys. That's what I would love to start doing. It's just a hard thing to get people to notice you. Don't forget to celebrate. Yeah, I know. Celebrate 103,000 subs. It really did come out of nowhere so fast. And the channel's still growing so quickly. It's insane. We are here, bro. Thank you so much, Jesse. D-Man versus Godzilla Fest 31. Oh, G-Fest 31. G-Fest, I don't know if I'll make it to G-Fest next year. Obviously, I couldn't make it this year, but that'd be sick. I would love to go back to G-Fest. It was a very special experience. You already got my like, man. Thank you very much, Goji Person 54. I appreciate that. The novels are from Random House, which is USA Books. I gotta look into that. I don't know about those Godzilla books. Who is the author again? Who did you say the author was? I'll look him up. I'll look up the author. I just found his name. Sunny Godzilla. Oh, wow. Those books. I used to rent those from the library as a kid. Wow, that just took me back. I forgot about these. I have no clue. I don't know a single detail about what happens in those. I particularly remember Who's Afraid of Godzilla. I remember that book. Very much remember that book. Those are older. The Godzilla Day celebration is coming back to Little Tokyo, LA. So it'd be cool to see if you could do something there. They're awesome people. That's a great shout out, Kaiju Not. Little Tokyo, LA. Kaiju Not, do you have Twitter? If you have Twitter, if you could tweet me details about that, I will definitely reach out because I really want to start doing bigger stuff for this channel. I want to start making news with you guys. I think if we could get the numbers up, I think that can happen. They should try to get you to do some kind of Godzilla movie trivia that plays before. No way. No. There's not enough time before the Shin Godzilla re-release, and I don't think I'm that special. I don't think I could have that honor. I think that has to go to somebody else. Someone like Ed Gotocheski and Stephen Rifle. I don't think I'm special enough for all that. D-Man vs. Jet Jaguar started a couple weeks ago, and I dropped that video, and it will continue for the rest of my entire life. I loved the Dark Horse comics, grew up with those. IDW hit in HS. It hit in high school and college for me. Gotcha, Hunter. I did not get to read those Dark Horse comics. I own one single issue of them, and I've never read them. They're hard to find. No, Jesse, I would not. I would destroy Jet Jaguar. I would kick his ass. I'd dismantle the dude. Jet Jaguar starts coming up with me. He's all slow and clumsy. Hit him with a good judo chop. I bet you I'd dismantle him in one shot. I'm taking him out. Otherwise, I'm going to spill some gumballs on the floor and watch him slip and fall. I'm going to grab his antennas and rip them off. Watch him grow without those. Actually, I think those do nothing for his growth, but I think that they help him fly. Have you seen the current Gojira suit that appeared at G-Fest this year? I saw you posted about that. What's the context, chat? What's the deal? Ultraman had an official presence at G-Fest. Subaraya had an official presence at G-Fest before Toho gets an official presence. Toho doesn't even get to do big official reveals there, but Subaraya brings out a brand new Jiris recreation suit. Is that real? Was that actually Subaraya, or was that just a fan production put on? That's wild. I have all 4 books, but sadly the 5th book never got released, which was titled Godzilla and the Lost Continent. That's a bummer. I'll have to look into them. Demon, if you can check out the comics Godzilla King of the Monsters 70 comics, you will love it. Those are the Marvel comics, Jesse. I have a bunch of those old Marvel comics, and they just released a big Marvel comics compilation compendium not that long ago. I need to pick that up. I say campaign for Godzilla versus Darkstalkers since you got a line with Toho. I don't have a line with Toho. Otherwise, I'd be working with them more often. I mean, I know people who work for Toho. I don't know anybody who works in a position that can get me to do more official things. Otherwise, I would be doing more official things more often. The most I have is people at Toho vouching for me to do Anime Matsuri. But even that is a situation where, first of all, I don't know if that's gonna happen again. I don't know if I'll ever be back to Anime Matsuri. I think last time was the last time I will. And there was enough. It was a frustrating enough situation from my perspective to where I've made it very clear that I was not treated as well as I should have been when I went last time, to the point where the people from Toho were aware and disappointed in how I was treated as well. And so I'd be surprised if I'm brought back. I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back and for things to change, and it really wouldn't take much to change things. It would be very, very easy to just make things have been made right now. Things have been made right, but it took too long to make things right, is what I'll say. And it could be an easy fix next time. I'd be very open to working with them again. I'd love to, but I'd be surprised if that ever happened. Try to get in the movies, maybe as a radio a radio personality hidden playing in the background. That would be the dream, dude. Could you imagine getting a cameo as a rival podcast of Bernie Hayes and Godzilla Kong Supernova? That's the dream. To have an Easter egg where You find out through a very sneaky voice Easter egg that I'm Ghidorah Stan 64, and I'm the one who's been trolling Bernie Hayes the whole time. When they released the when when Legendary launched the Godzilla number, you can call in about a Titan sighting. I called in multiple times and left messages yelling at Bernie Hayes in character as Ghidorah Stan 64. Gosh, I hope they use the audio of that in the new movie. But if I had a way to get into the movies, I would. It was official. They had that in Ultraman Bellier. I don't know how to say it. Bellia versus Ultraman Zero, doing a mini stage show, basically. That's so cool. That's so funny that, yes, Subaraya officially showed up to G-Fest. I remember saying one time to one of the heads of G-Fest that I felt that they should get Toho involved, the way that Toho was involved with Anime Matsuri, and they were like, absolutely not. They're like, Toho could shut us down at any moment. They're like Thanos. They could snap them out of existence. They're like, we're not going to poke the bear. D-Man, as much as you plug Toho, they should hire you as a creative consultant. Jesse, that's the dream. As much as I love this YouTube channel, I didn't start this YouTube channel with the goal of being a YouTuber for the rest of my life. I started this YouTube channel. I didn't have a goal at first. I started it just because I wanted to get on the Sons of Serizawa podcast. I started this YouTube channel because I wanted to get on the Sons of Serizawa podcast. Well, the Sons of Serizawa podcast ended a long time ago. It ended a long time ago. I didn't get on it. And then the goal became to become a filmmaker. And I'm at a conflicted point where I'm like, dang, this YouTube channel takes up so much time that it is hard to pursue some of my bigger dreams, that I'm like, I don't know what to do, because I don't ever want to give up the YouTube channel, but I want to start working with Toho and working on bigger projects. And like, I don't know how to pursue that. So that's going to be one of my new goals for coming up. One of my new goals coming up is to try and find ways to get my foot in the door, to try and find ways to work with Toho, to try and find ways to get some exclusive content for this channel and beyond. That's the dream. The dream's to someday work with them. I want to make Godzilla movies, I want to make the news that people report on. That's the dream. What's your ideal Godzilla movie? Something you've always wanted to see on screen, or a product of every Godzilla you've ever watched to this point? Loaded question, I know. Horseman, that's kind of the thing, is like, I don't know if I want to answer, because I know that it's just wishful thinking. I know it's a long shot. I know it's not going to happen. And in fact, part of me wonders if this channel has hurt my chances. Like, would Toho or Legendary want to work with somebody who's been this public about like their fandom for Godzilla, and who has a YouTube channel and has also been very critical of Godzilla? Is that something that they would want to work with, where I've been very critical of some of the Godzilla movies and some of the decisions made over the years? I don't know. But it's like, part of me wonders if I want to answer in full about like where I would take the Godzilla franchise. There are Godzilla projects that I have ideas for how they could be remade or adapted into a new continuity or a new storyline. I have ideas for where to take the Showa series to go and do a real throwback film, like fully in the style of the Showa series. I think I have an idea for a movie that I think could probably be made for a lower budget with practical effects. There would be a deep love letter to the Showa series, and it would be a lot of fun. I also have ideas for a brand new Godzilla continuity that I think would be interesting. I have an idea for a Godzilla film that is a standalone movie, a standalone Godzilla film that I pitched. Like, I was last year at Anime Matsuri, I was with Shinji Nishikawa, who has worked on Godzilla films since 1989, and I pitched him. He was like, because I told him I want to be a filmmaker, I want to make Godzilla movies, and he's like, that's great. We need more young people who want to pursue that and who are trying to pursue that. what Godzilla movie would you be interested in? And I pitched him an idea that I was like, this is the movie that I would love to make. And he was like, that's so cool. Because I had that exact, or not the exact same idea, but a very similar idea back in the 1980s. And he's like, I'm so glad to know that I'm not the only one who thinks that's a great idea. I really hope that someday you get to make that movie. You know, and that was a very special moment that I'm holding on to one full year later. That I'm like, that's a top moment of my entire life, is being told that. And so part of me is like, I don't know if I want to open up about it. I want to share it with the world someday, and I want you guys to be a part of that. Like, I want to share it with you guys someday. But if I can't, you know, that's all right too. If I don't get to make a Godzilla movie, that's fine. I just want to work within the series. And the dream of a Godzilla Fortnite skin, Childish, it's a very realistic one. I think that's probably the bar we should be aiming for. It's a very realistic goal that's reserved for only the biggest creators on YouTube, and especially in the Fortnite space. And me getting 2 victory royales during the Godzilla season, I think it does warrant me getting a Fortnite skin. So, I agree. If they offered you the role of Minya, would you do it? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. If they offered me the role of anything, in any kaiju, any human character, any fodder, I would absolutely take it just like that. Yeah, Scott, you'd think that they'd want to work with people who are like very open and sometimes comfortable being critical of the franchises that they love. I'm curious because when I met Giwa Chen, who's a Japanese YouTuber, great guy. I loved Giwa Chen. Giwa Chen works with Toho frequently in Japan. Like, he goes to events with them and promotes with them. Like, like Wonderfest and stuff. Like, he I don't know if it's that he works for them as much as he works associated with them, you know? And he was interviewing me, just talking about fandom and Godzilla and whatever. And he asked me, like, about some of my favorite memories of the franchise growing up. And I told him that, like, oh, I love War of the Gargantuas. That movie used to scare the crap out of me when I watched that movie. I was so scared of the Gargantua eating people, but I loved it. I couldn't look away. I thought it was a fantastic movie, and I would always return to it and watch it over and over again. And the fact that I was scared of Green Gargantua made me love it even more. And he was like, I'm not using any of that in the video because that's upsetting. I don't think that people are going to want to hear that you were afraid of this movie. And so I'm like, I definitely don't have a great track record of keeping my dumb mouth shut. if that was a line that he was like, oh, don't say that. Yeah, I say a lot worse things. Like when I rant about Godzilla power scaling. Why that's stupid. Maybe they should have bootlegs. What bootlegs are you talking about? I don't know what you guys are talking about. I got a lot of great ideas for Godzilla new takes, for sure, and some crossovers too. That's awesome, Birdman. And don't let go of those ideas. Pursue them till the end, man. Pursue them till the end. D-Man collab with Dai-chan livestream next time news breaks officially? I would love to. There is a language barrier there. So I'm like, if we're not playing Fortnite, I wonder how hard it would be if we do a live stream together. I think that'd be a little difficult for him and I to do a live stream together just because of the language barrier, if we're like specifically talking news. But dude, I would love to so much. How long did it take you to speak Japanese? I still don't know how to speak Japanese. I'm learning, but boy, can I not speak much. I was very proud of myself that when I went to Anime Matsuri and I met, you know, some people from Japan like Giwa Chen, I was able to like sort of kind of occasionally communicate with them without a translation app. That was very awesome, but those conversations were like the most limited, hi, how are you kind of conversations. Like I can't speak Japanese at all. And it's really hard because I don't converse with Japanese people enough to become more comfortable with the language, you know? Like I don't have a lot of experience with it. Yeah, Dylan, I think that adding Little Godzilla to Supernova is very likely. I'll have a video about that coming up incredibly soon in the next couple days. D-Man, I would love to see a documentary of the birth of Godzilla and his life and narrative by David Attenborough, like Walking with Dinosaurs. I know a lot of people want that. I would love that as a limited thing, like a short film or something. That'd be awesome. I would love that too, but only as a limited thing. I personally don't want to see it as an ongoing series or as a full feature-length movie. Do you think it's going to be similar to Evangelion? I don't know what we're talking about. Shin Godzilla 2? Do I think it's going to be similar to Evangelion? No. What's up, Wolfman? How's it going? I'm excited about Godzilla Minus 2 simply because it is happening, but Shin Godzilla would be awesome as well. Yeah, Shin Godzilla is still a possibility, and it could always wind up not happening. But hopefully... Childish! Banned! You're banned from commenting! I forbid you! You gotta learn how to say Jaguar before you learn Japanese. Hey, I think you just gotta open your horizons, buddy. Every word can be pronounced however you want it. Someone had to make up the pronunciation in the first place. With Shin Godzilla 2, would you want a returning or new set of characters or a mix of both? I would want a mix of both. There are a lot of characters I would like to see return. There are a lot of characters I would like to see, like, where they are at now. There are some characters where I'm like, do we need the whole returning cabinet? Maybe not. Do we need all the military members? Maybe not. Or if we do bring them back, really develop those relationships, you know? I got a lot of connections with cosplayers to boast the fandom, trying to get them to G-Fest and help with my Godzilla ideas because I need fresh minds for my story. That's awesome, Birdman. I need more connections with cosplayers because I really, really want to start learning how to make a Godzilla suit. This is an idea I've had for like probably 4 years now, a series that I've wanted to launch on this channel, but I simply know, yeah, we need to see what President Patterson's up to these days. She surely won the election. I really want to I want to launch this new like ongoing series, but I just don't believe it would have wide appeal. I don't believe a lot of my viewers would be interested. And unfortunately, like if I'm putting time into a project on this channel, until I can get more consistent work on films and stuff, I need this channel to do well financially. And it's so freaking hard to make that happen. So, one idea I've had is I want to start a series where I slowly, like, or hopefully quickly, that'd be cool, learn how to make a Godzilla suit for myself. I want to learn how to do that stuff. I want to learn how to make cosplay. I want to start with something simple, like making a Guganol of Sonda. I think that'd be a great idea because he's so humanoid, and also it seems like one of the more simple puppets you could learn how to make, and then work my way up to building a Godzilla suit. I would love to make a series about that, but I don't know if people would show up for it, you know? Like, I can't even post a video that isn't the Godzilla news video and have it do well. Like, people are only exclusively interested in the news, so it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to be like, where do I go from here? I want to start, that's what I'm saying. I want to start exploring bigger, more creative projects on this channel, but like, I don't know how yet. It's one of those things I'll have to learn over time. It's just one of those things I got to navigate. Wet paint. I do think somebody made an IMDb for me because I'm pretty sure I'm listed on IMDb for the Dead Meat Podcast. Pretty sure I'm on IMDb for the Dead Meat Podcast. Okay, you guys want to hear some of my big channel goals coming up? These are closer goals that I got to work on. First of all is getting that 1954 special out. Got to get that out. I got some fun live stream ideas that I want to do soon. I think those would be very fun. Finish off Godzilla-thon. like catch back up on the movies. That's obviously something I'm working on with those Godzilla-thon retrospectives I've been releasing. Got to catch up on reviewing the movies in the Godzilla-thon format. Then I need to fulfill my freaking promise to Saturn Dusk to finish off those Patreon requests. I've got to review the last Ghostbusters movies for you, and I've got to review that Transformers movie for you. Then, once I'm done with that, I'm going to launch some Patreon goals. So we can start to build out, like, I think if the Patreon, like, if we can start to make that do better, I can explore more bigger creative projects. But in the meantime, some Patreon goals I want to work on are building to Mothrathon, and lots of people want Mothrathon. I've seen a lot of people very interested in me doing Jurassic Park reviews ever since I reviewed the new one. I simply can't really do that at the moment just because I don't have a total fan base for that on the channel, but I'd love to do that. Gamerathon, including everybody's been begging me to review Gamera Rebirth. And then a big idea I have well down the line is the Son of Godzilla-thon. To relaunch Godzilla. This is an idea I've actually been working on actively since like 2019. Re-reviewing every single Godzilla movie with a modern... Oh, that's a cool idea. I like that idea, Saturn Dusk. That's super cool. I want to launch a modern Godzilla-thon where I re-review all the Godzilla movies, but this time edited, you know, not just the podcast style, but edited. Do edited reviews of all the Godzilla films. I've been working on it since 2019. I actually have quite a few of them recorded. I recorded like straight through. I have reviews for the Godzilla films up until Godzilla's Revenge, All Monsters Attack. So like 10 reviews done. Or at least recorded. Some of them are finished being edited, some of them are not. But those are so old, like, those were recorded in 2019. I've got the big Kong beard in some of them. I think I'm going to remake those at some point. Like, I haven't actively worked on them in a couple years. And my new idea is to launch a Son of Godzilla, because those were actually big reviews. Those were like 20, 30 minutes per movie. It was really impossible for me to try and make that work in the background while still getting out frequent uploads, which is why it would become a Patreon goal. But if I can do shorter reviews, like what James Rolfe did, like what Up From the Depths did, you know, shorter reviews, updated thoughts on the Godzilla movies, that's my new Patreon goal. That's the main new Patreon goal I'm going to work towards over the next couple months. Yeah, like a Godzilla-thon 1.5 kind of. You know, it'll be like a new Godzilla-thon relaunched, updated thoughts on all the Godzilla movies. But it'll also be like shorter edited reviews where I'm not really breaking down beat by beat, plot by plot, the full movie. Because at the end of the day, I still do have those original Godzilla-thons out there, even though I don't agree with most of those reviews anymore. I re-listened to all of those when making those compilations, and it was cracking me up how different of opinions I have on some of those films. Some of my opinions on some of those early Godzilla-thons, like I was very anti some of those Showa movies that I just have really come around on now. So, goofy stuff. By the way, do you guys hear any music playing? There should be music. I just turned the volume up, but like, I don't know. Have you heard music playing this whole time? You should have, but I don't know if you have. Is it too loud now? Did I turn it up too much? Should I turn it back down? I don't know. No, I don't plan on doing Mystery Science Theater style reviews. That's hard. First of all, I'm not that funny. Secondly, that's just a watch along at that point. Maybe someday way down the line. So here's an idea. The original point of Godzilla-thon was that every couple years, I've got this guy in my lap this whole time. Every couple years, oh yes, and Childish, that's an idea I have, was as I was reviewing them, I was going to start to tier list them to create a ranking of my opinions on Godzilla right now. I've had music playing this whole time. That's so silly that you guys couldn't hear it this whole time. I kind of thought that was what was going on. Defense reporting is music to my ears. Dang, dude, that's silly. I thought the music was playing this whole time, but now you should be able to hear it, or is it still too quiet? I can turn it up. It's just my piano. But anyways, the whole point of Godzilla-thon originally, I'll probably wrap it up about here, but the whole point of Godzilla-thon originally was that every couple years I would return to it to, yeah, I did a Kongathon. I did a Kongathon back in 2020. The whole point was that every couple of years I would return to Godzillathon, re-review them, and get my continually update my thoughts on Godzillathon. I haven't really done that because it was such a big undertaking, because I did those reviews that were podcast style. That's how I'm going to continue to review them until I'm done. And from there, I was going to do really highly edited kind of breakdowns of Godzilla movies. Those would be like 10 to 20 minute reviews. That takes a really long time to edit videos like that in the background while also releasing like Godzilla videos daily. It's incredibly hard to do and be successful with the channel financially in the process of that. Like Monsterverse May was a project that took a lot of time, and that didn't even really financially work out. Like, people didn't really watch those videos as much, which was a bummer. I was really excited about that series. But to relaunch Godzillathon, I'm like, I can't commit to doing those long form, and not like terribly long form, but like 20-minute review, 10 to 20-minute reviews is just too much. But if I do shorter reviews, I could do it. I could pull it off. So my new goal is to release shorter reviews next, get those out there, get my updated thoughts. A little bit down the line, then I can do the bigger reviews, because hopefully by that point the snowball effect will have gone and I'll be working on films more, and so that's where I won't have to worry about chasing the algorithm anymore. I'll be more focused on like making movies and then doing fun stuff on the side like Godzillathon. And of course I'll always try and cover Godzilla news because I love it, so, but I just won't have to make it as much of a stressful thing for myself. But yeah, then I can do longer Godzillathon reviews, and then maybe someday down the line, to continue the Godzillathon legacy, I can do watch-alongs of each Godzilla movie. Which, by the way, is one of my ideas. One of my upcoming live streams I want to do is a Godzilla 54 watch-along. I think that'd be fun. Have you known Dangerville, Goji Center, and Goji Guy? I know Dangerville. I do not know Goji Center. I do not know Goji Guy. I don't know either of them. I know of them. I know their channels. I've never met them. And if I have met them, I'm so sorry I forgot that I met them. I don't remember meeting them. I think I've had like Goji Guy has appeared in some live stream chats, and I've had very pleasant interactions with him in live stream chats, but I've never actually like sat down with the guy and met him that I know of. It'd be embarrassing if I had met him. What is that comment, Art? You're getting Mechagodzilla's Battlescar MG tattoo in your mouth. I can't wait to see it. That's gonna be great. I will never bash the original two Mechagodzilla movies. Yeah, Goji Guy seems really chill. Jesse, I've seen some of the Godzilla Wolfman stuff. Yes, I've seen Godzilla versus the Wolfman. I've seen some of the footage from that. I've seen some of that. Oh, I cannot wait for that to finally be finished. Did you do Jeopardy with Goji Guy? I don't remember. No, I did it with, who was in that? It was obviously Kyle. There was a second Kyle. There was Super Sevens Kyle. There was Kaiju Canuck, Shin Godzilla, and Mike's Monsters. You doing any interviews anytime soon on other creators' channels? You had a good streak going. I did. I was on a couple channels recently. I did another video with. I recorded a video with Firewood Media. It was primarily Rick, me, Firewood Media. We had some others in that as well. That should be, I don't know when they're going to release that, but yes, I will. That should be on Firewood Media's channel. I don't know after that. I freaking just realized I think I missed my chance to get my clip into Donnie for celebrating his series. I think he DM'd me about that while I was while I was out. I think I saw it while I was on the run and I didn't get to respond to it. I'll have to check because now I'm like, uh-oh. That sucks if I missed that. I totally did though. I'm like, I definitely remember getting that message. Definitely remember seeing that come through. I'm like, whoops. I might still have time. I need to get him that clip by tomorrow. Oh, I was supposed to send it in my freaking Friday. Dang it. All right. Well, I'll have to message Donnie about that. I'll have to send him a clip. What are you when am I reviewing? Are you asking when am I reviewing the Godzilla anime series? Because that should be soon, within the next couple weeks. Yeah, I was on one of the Jeopardies, but I wasn't on with Goji Guy. Jesse says, D-Man, you need to start making some t-shirts of Godzilla. I'd buy a bunch of them. I am looking into it right now. I am in the process of looking into it. I think I'm probably gonna end it here. It's late, I'm tired, and feels like as good a time as I need to end it. I would totally agree. I'd love to see Shin Godzilla go the Lovecraftian horror route. I wouldn't say that's the only route that Godzilla could go, but that Shin Godzilla could go, but it would be cool. I'll end that poll here. Yes, Saturn Dusk. That's one of the designs I would love to put on a shirt, that Burning Godzilla design. I'm very happy to finally be working with an artist on stuff like that. To finally have an artist helping me with some of this stuff. We've actually made some more of these little custom emojis that I just need to upload. There's one of them, a Rodanda Ganda emoji that I think is great. I can't wait to put that on the channel. And now that I've got some more members, now that we got some more members in D-Force, I can start to upload some more of those custom emojis, because they only let me upload as many custom emojis as, like, I can only upload a certain amount per amount of channel members we have. So now that we have more channel members, I will have to upload some more custom emojis. I still find it hilarious that Jet Jaguar got into the new Super Robot Wars game. That's so crazy. I don't know what the... Oh, by the way, Babs? Is that how you say that? Babes? Babesy? Babesy, thank you so freaking much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Is that going to be the last super of the night? I really appreciate that. I'm so freaking scatterbrained right now. I'm locking in. I'm locked back in. Babesy, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It says, I still find it hilarious that Jet Jaguar got into the new Super Robot Wars game. I do not know what that game is. I don't know what that game is, but I saw that announcement. That blew my mind. I can't believe that they would release that after, like, Singular Point would get another release after all this time. I kind of feel like Singular Point was dead and buried, but I'm glad to see it zombified and unearthed. Singular Point, I freaking love that show. I cannot wait to see any more content we can get from it, whether it's new figures or this random new collaboration. Whatever, I'll take whatever I can get. I think it's awesome. So that's super cool, and thank you so much for the super. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. You know, I was imagining Godzilla being an antagonist of Attack on Titan anime movie with Bonds of Blood design as part of the Reiwa era being set in early 2020. That would be a cool crossover, Godzilla vs. Attack on Titan. That'd be sick. Chibi D-Man writing Rodan, Saturn Dusk, that's exactly what the Rodan Daganda emoji is. I think it's super funny. I do not have one with the Konyaks, but I can get one made. That'd be super fun. Jesse wants this stream to just end. How about a Transformers/Godzilla crossover comic where Megatron captures Godzilla and he becomes Godzilla of Cybertron and destroys Cybertron? Dylan, whatever crossovers we can get, I'll take. I mean, the more crossover IPs we can get, the more people invested in Godzilla we can get. That'd be cool. Sorry, Razor. I do not control when the ads activate. I don't have any sway over that. Did you see the little Jet Jaguar Transformers made by DNA Designs? I did not see that. Maybe I'll have to look for that on Twitter. That sounds cool. If Godzilla fought Hulk, who would win? Well, in the comic, I'm pretty sure they don't fight, but Godzilla would win, I would assume. He's just so much bigger. Unless Hulk goes Worldbreaker and punches Godzilla into pieces. By the way, speaking of Donnie's series, growing up with Godzilla, I believe Donnie says, I think he said, like, what does he say? It's about to hit its 100th episode on Sunday. So send some love over to Donnie Winters. Donnie Winter as the series Growing Up with Godzilla. It's a great series, and I think it's a very important part of the Godzilla community to have a series like that. I think posted that Jet Jaguar in Discord. I might have seen it in the Discord, and I might... you did. You posted it in the figures chat. I think I just didn't understand what it was, to be honest with you. I thought it was part of that Super Robot Wars thing. Is it not? It's a Jet Jaguar Transformer made by DNA Designs. I don't know what DNA Designs is, but clearly I did not pick up on what that was. Fun fact, I kind of cried while watching -1. Titanus, I cried a lot while watching -1. It's not a kinda, I just did. I cried a lot during that movie. I thought that movie moved me to tears multiple times in one sitting. Babesy, thank you so freaking much for the super. I really appreciate that. Super Robot Wars is an RTS game. You're gonna have to explain what RTS is. I don't know what that means. It's an RTS game that features many iconic... I'm so bad at reading. Mechanics? Why did that struggle me? Why did that struggle me? That's the question of the day. Many other mechanics from different other anime, including Hundman, Code Geass, which I've heard of, and Mazanger, which I've heard of, to name a few. Boy, sometimes I just am like, I can't read to save my life. You streaming often? If not, you should. I'll hang around every chance I get, man. I really appreciate that. I really should stream more. I really should. I need to stream some of the streams I've got planned. Just for the record, they're supposed to be celebrations for 10 1954 subs. I'll just claim they are from here on out. I gotta do a stream. I had a very Mr. Beast idea. I had a very Mr. Beast idea where we would celebrate. This is the dumbest idea I've ever come up with. It would actually probably kill me. But we'd celebrate hitting 101,954 subs by, I would say, Godzilla 1,954 times in one stream. I had an idea to do a Godzilla 1954 watch along. I had Godzilla hot sauce that I was going to eat when I hit I was gonna do a Godzilla Q&A live with you guys where I ate Godzilla hot sauce, kind of reprising my original iconic Godzilla hot sauce video that I did way back in 2018. And the Godzilla hot sauce is freaking expired, so I'm not going to eat it. That's yucky. But maybe if I can find new Godzilla hot sauce, I'll still do that. I like that idea. Those were my ideas. But until then, the Godzilla-thon celebrations, they're still going on. And so that's part of it. That's the first part. Phase 1. Phase 1 officially began with the Godzilla Dawn Resurrection. Will you do a stream on Godzilla Day? It depends on what I'm doing on Godzilla Day. I probably will. I think last Godzilla Day I couldn't because I was on set. If you get to 104,000 subs tonight, you'll double the stream. Will I double the stream length if I get to 104,000 subs tonight? No. Mr. Beast idea: 100 G-Fest attendees versus deodorant. One thing I've learned over the years of going to conventions, I learned this actually at G-Fest. I went to Anime Matsuri. It was like the first big convention I went to. I followed it up by going to G-Fest very quickly afterward. One of the biggest lessons I learned was to always carry a few things. Now, whenever I go to conventions, I always have deodorant in my bag. Always carry deodorant because you don't want to be stinky. And I sweat when I wear my freaking Godzilla Invasion of Astro Monster hoodie. So if I'm going to wear that at conventions, which I really like to, boy, I gotta bring deodorant. I need to bring hand sanitizer because I shake a lot of hands and touch a lot of like figures and stuff. Wet wipes for the same reason. Like, that's just essentials that I carry at conventions. I've seen some people say they carry like tissues and other stuff, which is a good idea as well. Stream on Godzilla Day live from Japan, Saturn Dusk. I am dead broke. I have no money. I truly couldn't get to Japan at the moment unless things really turn around on the channel. Ever since I've had to move into an apartment and I have to pay rent, I cannot afford to go to Japan at the moment. But boy, I'll do everything I can to get there. I don't know if I could pull it off on November 3rd simply because a family vacation is just after that. I would love to do both, but yeah, I don't know if that's realistic. That'd probably kill me. I'd probably be the most stressful thing I ever endured. I'm not great at vacationing. I'm really bad at not working. I really love to work. It's really hard for me to not. And it's also really hard for me to work well on vacation. Whenever I go to Matsuri, it's great to film videos, but then I'm like, when am I going to have time to edit? And so sometimes I'll stay up all night editing. When I went to Japan, I stayed up all night editing my Godzilla -1 review and was like dead exhausted the next day for... I was just super tired. Like, yeah. By the way, if you're wondering, yeah, no, I'll tell you. If I can hit, I'll make this better. If I can hit 104,000 subscribers tonight, I'll double the length of this stream. We will stream for 4 or 5 hours or whatever it'll be, because we're currently so freaking far away from that. I'm at 103, 354 subscribers, so there's not really a chance. But hey, while we're on the topic of boosting engagement on this channel, I have a challenge. There's 53 of you guys currently watching. I'm about to drop that to 0. And then I just end the stream. That's the whole challenge. The challenge is, do you want a shout out? Do you want me to shout you out? I'll do a shout out for every single one of you guys. If you go to that video. No, don't pull out the bots. I do not want to get in trouble. Don't bot this channel. What's the video even called? I'll link it if I can. I'm gonna move that freaking Godzilla out of the way. It's my Godzilla -1 first fight will be with Mechagodzilla. The sequel updates, the Godzilla the Ride updates. The video that I want to do super well, because I think if it does well enough, I think there's a pretty good chance I can convince Toho to work with this channel to help with some Godzilla the Ride coverage. I think that's a very... it's not guaranteed or anything, but I think it's very possible. So I'll link here. That's the video. If you guys go, comment on that video. Just comment and say, I would love to see more Godzilla the Ride coverage, or something along those lines. Like, yes, I'd love to see more Godzilla the Ride content on this channel. The more comments we get like that, the more likely it becomes. Again, I've already pitched to the Alamo Drafthouse and Toho for potentially working, potentially making some content for this channel with you guys. I've already pitched to them. I'm gonna pitch to the Sabian Amusement Park hopefully pretty soon, if I can get those numbers up. And the best way to boost engagement is to go like the videos, comment on the videos. So everybody who does that right now, starting right now, everybody who goes and comments on that video and just says something along the lines of like, I'd love to see more Godzilla the Ride coverage on this channel. And if you want Ultraman the Ride, I think it's also at the Sabine Amusement Park. If you go comment that starting now, you can until whenever, until the next, like, probably whenever I record my next -1 video. So you'll probably got a couple days, probably like 2 days or so. Let's just say a day for the next 24 hours starting now. Heck, you could even comment multiple times. I'll shout out every single person. I know that might, if I wind up having to do 55 shout outs, that'd be super funny. But I'll shout out all of you guys. In Shin Godzilla 2, I hope they make a part of Shin Godzilla to break off and run back to the ocean and feed off radiation to the ocean and evolve into a new Godzilla. Dylan, that's so close to one of my ideas. That is so hype. I'll have a video in the next day or so coming out about, not tomorrow, but just after that, maybe the next 2 days, coming out about where we could see who Godzilla could fight in a Shin Godzilla sequel, where we could see that series go next. And at some point, I'll do a pitch video, a very quick pitch video, because I do want to get this coverage out before SDCC, which is in a week, so I'm gonna have to try and get this stuff very quickly done. But I'll do a video. I just checked my freaking Ring doorbell to see my neighbor. My neighbor's dog's got the zoomies outside right now, just tearing it up. That's super funny. What was I saying? I think I got so distracted. Oh, anyways, I want to get that Shin Godzilla pitch out soon, so I'm going to do some Shin Godzilla videos about where it could go from there, and that's an idea that I specifically, literally address, is my idea to see Godzilla develop into, like, something come off of him, a second Godzilla, or just a different way for Godzilla to evolve. Childish! I thought Shin Godzilla is the iconic one. It was the one that I started out with and was like, I think there could be 2 Godzillas in Shin Godzilla 2, and everyone was like, you're dumb for that. And then I did the unthinkable of saying that there's going to be 2 Godzillas in the MonsterVerse, because my logic made some semblance of sense. If there were no retcons involved with the MonsterVerse, Godzilla would have hibernated through the human time period. So theoretically, the Godzilla that appears in the cave paintings from Kong Skull Island would have been a separate Godzilla. I didn't know at the time, it wasn't lore canon yet, that our Godzilla was walking around and coexisted with humanity before King of the Monsters, you know. But that's actually my most popular 2 Godzilla theories. But I've literally done one for every movie. I did one for Godzilla -1, even though that was actually more of me debunking the idea of 2 Godzillas in the movie, but does Space Godzilla count as 2 Godzillas? Depends on who you ask. I'd say, sure. If it makes me look smarter, then yes. If it doesn't, who cares? At the end of the day, the only thing we're concerned about on this channel is making me look like a dang genius. And if everything we do doesn't make me look like a giant-brained genius, then I don't even want to do it. Speaking of, it's officially lore-accurate canon now that his name is Jet Jaguar. If you have a problem with that, then you can take it up with the same guy that retconned that Shima was the one that froze King Ghidorah in the Arctic before Godzilla King of the Monsters, because it makes about as much sense. I'd actually argue Jet Jaguar makes a little more sense, as it doesn't compromise the themes of someone else's work. See, I can't keep saying stuff like that. I really honestly need to get better, because it is my sense of humor to say mean things like that, but I don't want to offend anybody, and there are incredibly talented creatives who have worked on the MonsterVerse. I don't have to agree with every lore decision. I like to have a kind of mean, snarky sense of humor, but I also understand that by saying stuff like that, I come across as rude, and why would anybody want to work with me if I say stuff like that? So I really do need to get better about saying stuff like that, because dang it, I just get too into the bit sometimes. But will MonsterVerse Space Godzilla have a face in the crystals? I don't know if MonsterVerse Space Godzilla will, but if Shin Space Godzilla shows up, you bet your sweet bippy he will. No, don't call John Toho, please, please, don't do it. If you ever want to know a joke that will make people, some Godzilla folks laugh, you can use this bit. This is a bit that I used. I'll give it to you guys for free. It's a very specific context you have to use it in, but if Shinji Nishikawa ever challenges you to a battle on Godzilla Battle Line, actually more accurately, if you ever challenge Shinji Nishikawa to a battle on Godzilla Battle Line, but then you can't get it to work because the app isn't working, make a joke where you hold up your phone and say, oh, Toho, Mr. Toho, and act like you're calling Toho to complain about the fact that the app isn't working. That joke will make at least 2 people involved with the Godzilla franchise laugh, and my friend Dalton. It'll make him laugh as well. That's free. You can use that one whenever you want. Goji person, thank you so much. I blew up your comment section. I apologize formally here and now. I can't wait to see the damage you've done. And yeah, I mean, I know it's kind of like pandering, I guess. I don't know. If you're ever like, what's the quickest, easiest way to support this channel? Like the video and comment on the video. Even if you're just commenting being like, I love this video, D-Man. Liking the videos, commenting on the videos, that's the best and quickest way to support the channel. It's like the way to support it in the least amount of work, because the more comments the video gets and the more likes it gets, the more YouTube goes, hey, people really liked engaging with this video, and the more it sends the video out. It's what makes videos do well. If you want to do the same thing, go comment on my last Shin Godzilla 2 video and just comment what are you, if a Shin Godzilla 2 comes out, what are you most excited about that movie? Go comment that on my last Shin Godzilla video. I just linked it. If you go comment on that video, again, it's just like little things like that tell the YouTube algorithm like, hey, people are really interested. Also, like, watch time does matter. I hate that watch time and retention matter so much, but like the longer you watch a video, the higher the retention on the video is, the more YouTube's like, oh, this is a heater. If you like, I think the way YouTube interprets this is like, if you watch a video but then you leave really quickly, YouTube's like, oh, the video must be bad because they clicked off of it really fast. I think it's a dumb way to... I think watch time makes sense to measure. I don't think retention makes sense to measure, but retention is a Mr. Beast thing that really became popular. He kind of changed the landscape of YouTube with that one. All right, Horseman, got a jet, man. Great stream. Really hoping for some Godzilla news soon. Horseman, we're getting more Godzilla news than ever. It is pretty hype. And yeah, I'll be here to cover it all the way. I've got a Godzilla news and updates going out tomorrow afternoon, talking about how Akira Ifukube's music could potentially return for Godzilla Kong Supernova. I know that's something a lot of people have been very curious about. I'm giving my thoughts on it. I will say it's not like that. There's news in that video. We cover some set photos and stuff. That's the discussion I'm having. I don't want to hype up the fact that there's news about Ifukube's music returning, but that is what we're going to talk about in the next news video, which is available now for patrons and Tier 2 D-Force members. I'll answer 5 more questions and then I'll take off, probably. Let me do my last 5 questions and then I'll take off. D-Man, you educate and got brains like us. I sure do, Jesse. I sure do. I'm aiming to leave a bonus. No. A bonus 100 comments is diabolical. What the heck? Think you'll break your records of videos released with this year for the soonish year 11 video? Saturn Dusk, I think so. The only month that I really missed out on was December because my channel got hacked and I fell so far behind in the aftermath of that. That's the only like time period I really kind of fell off on posting. I think I will, especially if we count live streams and shorts. Like, holy crap, some days I've been uploading like 5 shorts a day. Which also I'm learning shorts are apparently pretty detrimental if you use them wrong on your channel. So that was a cool thing to learn, that I've been slowly killing my channel with shorts for a while because I've been using them wrong. I hate trying to keep up with the YouTube's changing algorithms. It's insanely confusing. This is a really important question to answer. If you could put a third face on Shin Godzilla, where would you place it? There's the obvious answer, which I think we're all thinking. The back of his head, of course, obviously. That's what we're all thinking. Having a double face, like one sticking out here. You know what I would do? If I could, it would not be necessarily a third face, but you know the rumor that the reason that Godzilla's tail shoots a laser, the theory was that it's because it's got a living, breathing face in there. And I always pointed out, well, Godzilla also shoots dozens of beams from his back. Here's my idea. Little mouth, little mouth, little mouth, little mouth, little mouth, little mouth, little mouth. All of the spines are little mouths and they all shoot out. There's little faces in every single Godzilla spine. There's Godzillas in all of them. There's Godzillas in all of us. That's the lesson I want you to take away from this video. There's Godzillas in all of us. The chest actually would probably be the coolest idea, like Gojira from Godzilla Wrath of the Hybrid, but so the YouTube algorithm is Shin Godzilla. Yes, it's always evolving and I'm never keeping up with it. It's always going to defeat me in the end. D-Man, write down your ideas in a log before you forget. In a log. What ideas? I've already forgotten what ideas I'm supposed to write down. I like that, a face denier. I think that's, someone should have labeled me that a long time ago. Is it pure cope? I'll never answer. And you'll never get me on tape answering. Hopefully, if Akira Ifukube's music comes back in the Monsterverse, maybe we can get it during Godzilla's first fight against Space Godzilla and final battle. I would love that. I was a huge fan of the way Bear McCreary worked with Jesse, I'm confused. What ideas am I supposed to write down? Write down your IC. Write down your IC. What you mean? D-Man, write down your ideas. I see what you mean. I don't. I'm stupid. What are we talking about? I'm so lost. Yeah, I loved the way Bear McCreary used Ifukube's music in Godzilla King of the Monsters. That was fantastic. I really loved it. I would love if they do. If they find ways to continue to bring Ifukube's music back in ways that, like, I love Godzilla -1. I love the way that it used Ifukube's music in Godzilla -1. I just don't know what ideas I've come up with that I haven't written down is all. Like, all the ideas that I pitched on the future of where my channel is going, or things I'd like to do on the channel, I have written down. But anyways, like, I really loved the way that like, -1 used Ifukube's music just, like, straight up revamped. It was cool. But what I really liked about Godzilla King of the Monsters was, yeah, I have written down all my ideas on what I would want to do with Godzilla. And hopefully someday I'll get to show those to the world. But what I really liked about Godzilla King of the Monsters was the way we took Godzilla's music and incorporated it into the score for the movie without just straight up being like, and here's Ifukube's music. It was like part of a bigger song, part of an action set piece. You know, it was like worked into the score in a really organic way. It was really cool. I really hope that if Ifukube's music returns for Supernova, that's the way it's used. You know, and I'd love for it to be used during Godzilla's fights with whoever his enemy is, but probably Space Godzilla. Alrighty, Jesse, it is finally time. Going to bed, guys. Get ugly sleep. Good night, D-Man. Get some good sleep, Jesse. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. It's been so fun to have you. If Rodan comes back, bring back his original roars and soundtrack from Ifukube in the Monsterverse. I would love for Rodan's theme to return. Obviously, I wrote it into my Godzilla custom theme back in the day for Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's great stuff. It's not the Rodan theme. Of course, Rodan had his own theme in 1956, but it was a little different, a little slower, and wouldn't fit the vibe of the Monsterverse. It's a little too slow-paced. But particularly what I want to hear is the Rodan roar come back. I honestly could take or leave the music. I want the roar back very badly. I have not delved into Man in the Suit. I found it to be a weird concept. I don't have an issue with an analog horror based around Godzilla. I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think the idea of a Godzilla analog horror is very cool. I think the idea of Man in the Suit's a cool idea. What I didn't love was probably the same thing that everybody got upset about and offended about, was just the, like, why did they have to be the real people's names? I thought was weird. It'd be super weird if we found out that somebody wrote a, like, if someone writes a fanfic about you being a murderer, it'd be weird to come across, you know. And I know that obviously Haruo Nakajima's not gonna come across Man in the Suit. He's dead. But it just feels weird. It feels strange to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I found it to be like, I don't even know if I'd say in poor taste as much as I just found it to be like a strange call. I would have preferred if it was just all brand new characters made up for that series. But I also just don't have a ton of... I don't watch a ton of Godzilla content on YouTube. I spend so much of my time talking about Godzilla content that I don't always watch Godzilla content. I love analog horror. I love Vita Carnis. I love Backrooms. I love anything Kane Pixels does. I watch Mandela catalogs. I really like analog horror. I haven't really delved into the Godzilla side of that. See you later, D-Man. Can't wait to see what you cook up next. Thank you so much, Titanus. I really appreciate that. Have a good night, man. Analog horror where he kills people in real life after killing them. Oh, a D-Man analog horror where he kills people in real life after killing them in Fortnite. Childish. The kill counts would be unbelievable. We're talking about potentially 2s or maybe even 3s of kills. This is a kill count the likes of which Dead Meat couldn't even begin to handle. Dead Meat thought having me on the channel the first time was bad enough. Wait until he finds out about my Fortnite kill count streak. I might be able to push 5. The world would never be the same. Yeah, I do think so. I think the Monsterverse has totally forgotten the Brody family. I also think I've answered way more than 5 questions. I think I've done way more. What is this button? I have a new button that just popped up. Fan funding. Super chats, super stickers, channel members, gifting. Oh. It just turned the chat into only super chats. Well, that's a really cool feature. I wish they introduced that a long time ago. That really feels like something they should have answered, that they should have included a long time ago. But that's super cool they added that. Odo Island Godzilla, D-Rex or Indominus Rex, who wins? Odo Island Godzilla has the regeneration factor. Takashi Miyazaki said that he could have survived getting shot by the plane by the Shinden. I think Odo Godzilla clears. I think he dominates. I think he rips those other guys apart, especially the D-Rex. I know there's like the Jurassic fandom hyped up the strength of the D-Rex. I've seen no on-screen feats that thing is any stronger than anything. The way I see it, that thing's a freaky little mutant who, if you poke him wrong, is gonna pop. I don't think that guy's meant for combat. I think the reason that there's no big Jurassic world-ending fight in that movie like there was originally planned where the D-Rex fights a T-Rex is because the D-Rex is not a creature built for combat. It's a mutation and an abomination and a tragic monster that shouldn't exist. It's a monster that I think if it gets bitten right in the arm, it's gonna get its arm ripped off. It wasn't built for combat the way that, like, the what were they called? The, Mutodons felt very combat ready. No, man. Kaiju not. I disagree. Odo Godzilla clears that fight. Odo Godzilla is vicious. He's sharp. He's strong. He's tearing those guys apart, man. He's not as fast as the Indominus Rex. The Indominus Rex, I think, could run circles around him. Goji person, what are you doing? That is gonna be wild to see whatever you've commented. I think you're good, man. I think you're good. You only had to comment once. You only had to comment one time. I'm terrified to see what you've done to the comment section. Holy crap. I see it. I see what you've done. You're good, man. That's insane. Almost 30. That is so silly. Yeah, I know. He grabs the helicopter. That thing wasn't flying very fast in the first place, and it wasn't trying to fight him. He grabbed it and just went... Dai-chan! Is that really Dai-chan? What's up, man? That is so cool. Oh, childish. I don't agree that they should have scrapped the mutant plot. I loved the mutants in that movie. I thought they were so cool. Dai-chan, that is so awesome. Welcome to the stream, man. We talked about you. We were talking about you earlier. We were talking about if we could get you on a stream someday, so we could do like a crossover collab stream. I was saying I don't know. I would love to, but I don't speak enough Japanese. I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad with Japanese. I'm still learning. But Dai-chan says, "Hi, D-Man. There are people in Japan who believe that false rumor that Shin Godzilla isn't popular overseas. To convince them, Shin Godzilla needs to succeed in the US screening this August." Interesting. Say Dai-chan's name and he will appear. Okay, really? There's rumors that Shin Godzilla is not popular in the US? Here's a interesting story. When Shin Godzilla came out, there was a lot of controversy around Shin Godzilla when it came out in the United States. You know, there was a lot of people who were like, it's too different, it's so different. They didn't know how to feel about it. Then the movie came out and it was like dominated. For a while, it was everybody's favorite Godzilla movie in the fan base. I feel like it settled out to a reasonable point where there are people who have like criticism of Shin Godzilla, then there are people who love Shin Godzilla. It's like their favorite Godzilla movie. I didn't know that there was like a very passionate side of the Godzilla fandom that doesn't like Shin Godzilla until I started covering Godzilla -1 incredibly extensively, because I would release the Godzilla -1 all scenes in orders videos, and when I'd release those, I'd get so many Japanese comments of people being like, I don't want to see, thank God it's not a Shin Godzilla sequel, I'm so happy it's not, I'm so happy it's a brand new continuity. I did not realize there was that passion, because in America, what I'm used to on this channel anyways, pure passion for Shin Godzilla. I know like everybody loves Shin Godzilla that I know of. I know people in the real world who love Shin Godzilla who don't watch Godzilla movies. Like, I know Shin Godzilla is popular. I remember Mr. Sunday Movies liking Shin Godzilla. Like, they even liked Shin Godzilla. It was... Shin Godzilla, I feel like, has really become like a very special... I think it's very special. I don't know if it's... And simply because of Godzilla -1 had a bigger release and more press. I don't know if Shin Godzilla is as popular as Godzilla -1, but Shin Godzilla is definitely popular in the US. I don't know how successful the re-release will be. They're advertising it in theaters, but pre-sales haven't opened yet, so we don't know. We don't know how tracking's looking on that. I think it'll be more popular than typical Godzilla re-releases here in the West. You know, like, we get Godzilla 1954 re-releases every year or so. I don't think we get, like, I think Shin Godzilla is going to do bigger numbers. I remember when Alamo Drafthouse did a couple Godzilla screenings a couple years ago. There was Shin Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Godzilla 1954. Shin Godzilla and Biollante were the two that sold out immediately. Like, those two sold out instantly. In fact, I didn't even get to go see Biollante because it sold out. And then, like, when Fathom Events does Godzilla against Mechagodzilla or Godzilla Tokyo SOS, I don't think those will be as popular as Shin Godzilla. Plus, Shin Godzilla is getting trailers in US theaters ahead of movies like Jurassic World. Like, the Shin Godzilla trailer is releasing in theaters, so I think there's enough hype about it. I think it'll do all right. I'm very curious, but I think that New York Comic Con is going to hype it up next week. We're getting New York Comic Con. Shinji Higuchi's going to be there. I think there's going to be a lot of hype for Shin Godzilla at New York Comic Con. I'm so excited for that. I can't wait. And like I said, I feel like if the Shin Godzilla sequel rumors are true, you know, that Bloomberg article, if Bloomberg is on the money that there's going to be a Shin Godzilla sequel, Takashi Yamazaki teased that he wanted to do more -1. He filmed the -1 announcement video well at New York Comic Con. Could Shinji Higuchi do the same thing? Maybe. I think it would make even bigger splash at SDCC to announce that they're going to do a Shin Godzilla sequel at SDCC. But maybe I'm coping. I've gotten some criticism where people are like, don't hype up the Shin Godzilla sequel, we still don't know. I know, but man, I feel like there's enough evidence over the years that it's not dead. I don't believe it. I spent an hour at the start of this live stream ranting about how I don't think it's dead. I think that there's still hope. There's still hope. I wonder if Dai-chan messaged me. I'll check. Goji person, knock it off. You're going insane. Don't you dare hit 50. Dude, I'm a huge fan. I'm sorry for blowing up the comments, but it's so freaking funny. You're so goofy, dude. I know. I started the stream so long ago. I gotta wrap it up. I really gotta end it here. Everybody, like this video, like this stream, comment on this stream. Goji person, if you wanna blow up the comment section, blow up the comment section on this stream. I think I'm probably gonna end it here. I'll probably end it here. And that'll be that, because I'm gonna get some sleep. I have 2 copies of Shin Godzilla, so it's popular. The only difference between it and -1 is -1 was released to more countries where Shin Godzilla didn't get the same benefit. Yeah, not only that, but -1 was released for like an entire month, remember? Like -1 had a full theatrical release in theaters like AMC theaters. Like in AMC theaters, the biggest theater chain in America. And it was released for over a month. You know, it started January and it went through February. Or actually, did it start in December? It started in December and went through up until February, you know? Like, -1 had a big release. Shin Godzilla had some theaters. Like, I had to go to a Regal to see it. I had to go to... I didn't get to see it. It didn't come out in AMC theaters. It came out in smaller theaters with limited show times. There was only a couple showings per day at the theaters it aired in. And not only that, but it didn't even have much advertising, and it played on the weekends, if you'll recall. But hey, to talk about Shin Godzilla's popularity, it had a much smaller release. It didn't release internationally to the same success as, like, Godzilla -1 was in so many countries all at once. Shin Godzilla went through a lot of countries, I believe, mostly in Asia, I think. Like, I remember the Philippines at least getting it, but I don't know if I don't know where all it released, but I know Shin Godzilla had a much smaller release, especially in the United States. But if you'll recall, think back to the day, Shin Godzilla had an extended release. Remember, it was only supposed to play for like 3 days. It did so well, they extended it for another weekend. Funimation's brought it back for a second weekend, so we got 2 weekends of Shin Godzilla. That's how I was able to go see it 3 times in theaters at a time when I didn't have a car. I needed people to take me to go see it. That was very, very exciting. The king will prevail. We will get more amazing content. Are you talking about me or are you talking about Godzilla? Content Content more for the content of the D-Man. He will lead us to the better Godzilla future. You're talking about me. No. Thank you. Could it be possible it was because Funimation's handling of Shin Godzilla? Absolutely, Orca Boss. I think that's why. I think Funimation's released Shin Godzilla to a very small scale. I think that's why it was kind of limited. It was a small scaled release. Not only that, but Funimation didn't have the highest quality subtitles, if you'll recall. The theatrical release of Shin Godzilla is different than the DVD release of Shin Godzilla. It was nauseating. I don't know if Daichan's still here, but I don't know if this would be a story he would even know, but oh, maybe he messaged me on Discord now. No, he didn't. Dang it. I don't know if Daichan's still here, but if he is, and this wouldn't be a story, I don't know if he'd know this, but if those of you guys, if you remember, Shin Godzilla released in the US for the Funimation's theatrical release, it still had Japanese subtitles on screen. Whenever Japanese text was on screen, Japanese text was on screen. They didn't replace it with English text. Japanese text was on screen, and they subtitled over it, and there was English subtitles. Sometimes the characters were speaking English, and there was multiple subtitles going on over it. It was really chaotic. It didn't take until the DVD release for them to rein it in. And now with the announcement of the new Shin Godzilla release from G-Kids, it will have updated subtitles, they said, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be great. Remember when Godzilla -1 was going up against Beyonce and the people were scared it was going to kill it? I think I was scared that Beyonce was going to do major damage to Godzilla. I remember being nervous about that too. I tend to always assume that the worst is going to happen. If you haven't noticed over the course of this channel, I tend to always assume that Godzilla movies are going to not do as well, or that they're going to get review bombed or whatever. Like, I'm always nervous that, I'm always overthinking it and nervous that the Godzilla movies are not going to blow up or whatever. Shin Godzilla came out in October, but it got enough money in the States to get an extension. Yes, it did. It sure did. I think the fandom was in a different place as well then, and social media. Yeah, true. It's funny to think about, but there really was a time when I was the only person up to date covering Shin Godzilla news all of the time on YouTube. Like, there was a time when it was just me, and now there's Dangerville covering all this stuff. There's surely others. There's tons of newer ones that have popped up. Dangerville obviously became the biggest. I think they're the biggest Godzilla news channel, if not just straight up the biggest Godzilla channel on YouTube. But like Dangerville popped up. I feel like everybody covers Godzilla news now. Back in the day, you had people like ETN. Rob was covering Godzilla news, but he wasn't covering it to the extent that I was. I was like the only person up to date on the news, which was the reason my channel was taken off back then. But the fact that more people cover that stuff now, it means that it should theoretically be more popular than ever, because it's reaching more people than ever before, especially with like TikTok and stuff. Boy, that's a big market that I'm barely tapped into. I have no plans to make this stream go to 4 hours unless it's already gone to 4 hours. I don't know. My stream thing is behind. I don't see how long I've actually been streaming for. Oh, yes, I do. 3 hours, 20 minutes. No chance I'm making it to 4. I gotta be done. Top fans on the leaderboard. The top fans tab asked me if I wanted to see the top fans on the leaderboard, and I clicked it, and it's blank. But I know at the very least Saturn Dusk is ranked as the #1 right now. I like this leaderboard thing. I think it's very fun. I think it's a cool thing. I'm glad they did that. I think it's a cool little, I think it's a cool new feature YouTube added. Well, thank you, Saturn Dusk. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. That's super nice of you to say. I feel like my sense of humor is probably one of my biggest flaws, but I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot to me, and I always appreciate your support. It really does mean a lot. And I appreciate your patience too, and the fact that I still owe you 2 reviews, and I feel really bad about it, but I appreciate you, man. It seems like August has little competition, so Shin Godzilla could pull a surprise at the box office. I would love it! I would love if Shin Godzilla just took off and blew up at the box office. It would be sick. Oh, they got that leaderboard idea from Twitch. That checks out. Yes, it has been. It's been 3 hours and nearly 30 minutes since I started streaming. In Shin Godzilla 2, I hope there's a scene where Shin Godzilla fires his proton beam and starts out purple and it sputters and then comes out in the infamous blue color. That would be awesome. I've always felt that Shin Godzilla, the purple actually looks fantastic on him. If there's any other color that would be good, blue would look great. I've always thought that Shin Godzilla could have red beam and it would be cool, but I particularly think -1 with an orange beam would be great. Oh, here, you want a little prediction? The news video hasn't gone out yet, and it's not up for patrons yet either. It'll be the next Godzilla Kong Supernova news video after this Ifukube one. My prediction, as of right now this second, on what Godzilla's design is going to look like in Godzilla Kong Supernova, I think Buddy's going to be green, and I think he's going to have orange spines or an orange beam. That's my new guess. I think they're going to change him from pink to orange and kind of lean fully into the Millennium Godzilla. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll show you guys the evidence on why I think that in that news video in a couple days, but that's my current thought. Saturn does that. That first Ghostbusters review was so silly. Like, I reviewed it with some friends. I was excited about those podcasts. I could never convince them to come back or commit to doing more episodes, even though they claim it's my fault, but it wasn't. We were gonna do like caravan of garbage styled reviews for those. That didn't work out. Then I was gonna do it solo. I was having major copyright issues. Then I did the review in its own format that it sort of eventually came out in. And I don't remember what happened to it. Like, it got corrupted, but I remember, like, I remember right when I was like, okay, now's the day where I'm gonna finish and post it. It was I couldn't work with it. The freaking video was so corrupted I had to go in and do this goofy thing where I basically screen recorded the salvageable parts of the original recording. So actually, if you look really closely, it's kind of choppy over the course of that video. Yeah, I was struggling to get that one done. Bro is gonna get himself... You're gonna get yourself in trouble. I don't even know if... I can't even control that. Like, if you're... I don't think... You said last comment you did was 15 minutes ago, but... No, wait, this is a new person. No, wait, what? Jesse and Big Ring? You guys are so silly. Don't spam the new video like that. It's so funny. I was like, you guys are gonna get yourself, like, I think YouTube will think you guys are bots if you comment that much. But I see it's 2 of you guys. That's goofy. All right, let me try and really blast through these comments, catch up, and then end it. I should have pulled out the... Hey, you guys want to see what... You want to see what I think the new Godzilla design is going to look like in Supernova? I got a feeling it'll look just like this, but with human teeth. That's an important detail. Let me try and run through these comments. I thought you were gonna pull. I thought you were gonna pull as the Playmates Godzilla. I really hope he isn't green. I hate when Americans portray Godzilla as green. I understand that thought process. I think Godzilla's had enough appearances in the U.S. now where he hasn't been green, where I don't think that's really a popular trope anymore. I really hope, and the childish response with the exact opposite. I really hope he's green. I love when Americans portray Godzilla as green. Spino Dragon says, "Hey D-Man, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm personally taking this Shin Godzilla sequel with a grain of salt for now, but I can't help but be excited for the chances of this happening, as you should. There's no official confirmation from Toho, just a rumor from the Bloomberg article, but I think there's enough circumstantial evidence to say that there's a decent chance that we could see something go through in the future." King Dino says, "And thank you for supporting my ideas." Of course, of course. Don't. You guys are so funny. Do not spam the comments like that, you guys. Finish the stream with Shin Teethy. Oh, I sure will. Shin Godzilla was the first Godzilla film I got the chance to see in theaters. Seeing a sequel on the big screen would be a dream come true. I completely agree. I would love that. It was not my first Godzilla film in theaters, but it was my first Japanese Godzilla film in theaters. I think Godzilla Supernova design will be a mix of his 2019 design, slimmed elements, and evolved the design with the translucent dorsal plates, making it similar to Kiryu Goji. That would be awesome. I would love that. That'd be super cool. That's my favorite Millennium Godzilla design. I think it's so sick. Yeah, you gotta watch out for commenting too much, just because YouTube sometimes assumes you're a bot channel, and it'll be like, I don't want that guy to comment anymore. At least the views on that video are closing in on 40K. Yes. Now, if everybody liked the video, imagine if all 40,000 liked that video. Those numbers, man, they matter. They matter, and people look for them. Like, that's the big part of, like, if I want to start working closer with these companies, like, the numbers are what they look for. Seeing the tail creatures from Shin Godzilla getting into places Godzilla can't for the sequel would be super fun and scary to see. Imagine a scene where they're in a building, like a warehouse, and something's moving in there, and then this enormous Shin Godzilla humanoid crawls out at them, and it's got that face, and it's chomping at them or whatever, and it's shooting maybe some sort of atomic, bloody, freaking gooey beam. I could see it being a bit more like the blood that spurts out of Godzilla. That'd be so terrifying. Really lean into the horror elements of it. That'd be so cool. Human tooth, Kamata-kun. No, it's too powerful. We can't keep giving human teeth to Godzilla. Dude, YouTube is going to have me in the ringer for my activities on these comments. That's so funny, man. Do you think the re-release of Shin Godzilla will release in Australia? At the moment, no word, but I'd be willing to bet that if it does well enough in the US, it could get international releases as well. I think Shin 2 is gonna be like Shin has been frozen for a few days now, and Japan is still recovering, and America nukes Japan right when Shin Godzilla is. I see Shin Godzilla then gets nuked and continues from Form 5. Shin himself also evolves into another form. He turns supercharged, fully purple if Japan doesn't stop Shin, the humanoid Godzilla, and the humanoid Godzilla creatures. I think it'll pick up years later. I think it'll pick up years later after Shin Godzilla. How successful would you say the Shinverse is? I think it was moderately successful. Like, I think Evangelion did well. Shin Ultraman did really well. I think Shin Kamen Rider did just okay. I think. Is Shin Godzilla 2, in Shin Godzilla 2, I hope Shin Godzilla's dorsal plates form into two wings, like referenced in the first movie, and his proton beams shoot out of the holes in his dorsal plate wings like jet thrusters. That I've seen I think I've seen concept art of what you're talking about, or fan art of what you're talking about, and it's super wild. I think there is fan art depicting exactly that. On the bright side, we got the Mecha Godzilla video through over 300 comments. Thank you guys, I really appreciate that. Again, all the support, it really does go a long way. I really appreciate that. Alrighty, I gotta end it. Like, it's gone on long enough. It's gotta be the end. I've drawn Godzilla a lot. I used to draw Godzilla a lot back in the day. I used to be decent at it, but I haven't done it in a long time. Shin Godzilla should have been turned into a roller coaster between movies. Yeah, they should have turned between buildings, nonetheless. They should have turned Shin Godzilla into a roller coaster building, is what they should have done. For a moment, I really believed that was real. Alrighty, I gotta end it. Thank you guys so much for watching. A huge thank you to all the support I've gotten. I'll shout out all of the super chats right now. No 24-hour stream. No, I will not do it. Shouting out all of the super chats. We've got Alden Tolbert. I really appreciate you. Gavin CMB, thank you for joining D-Force. Saturn Dusk, thank you for being a part of D-Force for 5 months. Birdman, thank you so much for the super chat. Saturn Dusk, thank you so much for the super chat. Just making sure I did cover those. Jess Montanez? How do I still not know how to say that? Jess Montanez, thank you so much for the super chat. Dot Kaiju, welcome to D-Force. Thanks for joining as a channel member. White Fang, thank you so much for the super chat. Babsy, thank you so much for the super chat. And Babsy, thank you so much again for the second super chat. That should be all the shout outs. Yeah, and I do have a Godzilla energy drink in my fridge right now that I need to drink for a YouTube short, but I just haven't done it yet. Alrighty, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, thank you, Joey. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know it was kind of random and it was late. I planned to do this much earlier in the day, but I just wasn't able to. At one point, we peaked at 98 viewers. We got so close to 100 viewers, but thank you so much for sticking with me. For 40 viewers, it's one of the most highly viewed live streams we've done in a long time. I really appreciate all of you guys. I hope to do more live streams like this soon enough. Generally, thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. Oh, also, big thanks to the patrons on Patreon. It is, again, through the support of the patrons that I'm able to continue to do stuff like this in the first place. Supporting the Patreon is the most direct way to support this channel. It's also the most direct way to show your support for Jaguar and to show your support for the new canon. So just remember that in the future. Alrighty, that's officially it. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out. Now I gotta wait, because otherwise it'll cut me off mid-sentence. Bye-bye, guys.